And now it's time for headlines with JT and the Hootastic panel.
Hello everybody, there I am. Nice to see you. How are you? It's Sunday the 15th of September 2024. This is Whose Views and this is your headlines. How are you doing? It is lovely to see you. Thank you for joining us once again here on the channel. Goodness me, lots to get through with you all again here on the big show tonight. Because have you heard? My goodness me. It has been rumour after rumour this week here in the United Kingdom. That has, of course, spread around the world. Ncuti Gatwa, has he gone? Is he staying? Who cares? Quite frankly, I'm not quite sure because, do you? Really? Get rid of the whole show, in my opinion. That's what I say. But there you go. That's just me. David Tennant again. Apparently there's been rumours about him going around. And this time it involves the legend that is J.K. Rowling. So that's going to be an interesting one. And later on in the show, we're also going to be talking about Stephen Moffat at TIFF. A little bit of tiffing for you there, everybody. As ever, I am not alone here on the show. I have got Paul and I've got Third Doctor here joining me. Hello, hello.
Hello there.
Hello.
Oh, another big show, guys. Are you ready for this?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Good.
What a week.
And hopefully all my buttons here will work properly on this as well. I don't know. Maybe they're freezing over like I am because I'm feeling the cold coming in now, hence the sweatshirt.
Do we have any Whose Views gloves or scarves coming at any point?
Oh, God. No, we'll move on.
You do a Who Views version of Ncuti's gravity gloves.
His Mavity gloves, you mean? Yes.
Well, where's that gone? That's
Well,
disappeared,
that's
isn't it?
I would hate to think what people would do with them. Let's face it. Oh, my goodness. But yeah, listen, everybody, you are very, very welcome. We are going to come to you through the show, of course. So let us know how you are doing. Firstly, I want to say a huge thank you again to everybody that's getting in touch with us this week. It's nice to hear from you all. I want to say thank you to Tyler Durden Smile, to Lex Kane, to Graham Buxton, to Simon Leavesley, to Andy Dunn, Cody W1, the Legion of James, Len Looks Back, Theodore Benton, Stuart Busby, Mudcrab, Matt N. Spiel, Trev359, Pure Yor, and Sheila B. and the Devotions. Thank you all very much for your messages and your emails. Really appreciate them. Keep them all coming in. And especially thank you very much for all your comments about in the week we did our second episode of our season overviews, didn't we, guys? And we did season 25 from 1988.
Yeah, it was good fun.
Yeah.
Well, it's gone down very, very well. So yeah, we are going to be doing another one at some point in the future. So stay tuned with us here on the channel. Make sure you're subscribed. But I want to say thank you very much to Stephen, because Stephen, even with his poorly hand, sent us this to celebrate the show.
Hey.
Oh, superb.
Yeah, a nice little picture there from Stephen Braddock. So thank you for that, mate. Of the Seventh Doctor, with lots of dates around him and question marks, of course. Very good. Yeah. So thank you for that, Stephen. Oh my goodness. So yeah, we have got a big show for you this evening. Marjorie's already started with Hit the Road, Ncuti. Actually, we should record that. Remember that one? Yeah, we should hit the road, Jack. We should re-record that. And the truth is up there. Hello to you. Nice to see you. Love Stephen Braddock's picture this week. Yeah, it was nice, wasn't it? Thank you for that, Stephen. Peter's also saying that was nice, Stephen. Nice to see you, Pete. Michael is with us saying, Michael Tomati saying, I would like Michael Sheen as the 16th Doctor. Are you crazy? Are you crazy? I mean, he's as bad as Tennant.
Yeah.
Politically.
They're
I mean, he's old.
Kind, aren't they?
Oh,
at least he's a good actor. That's one good thing going from. But
yeah, but I'm having problems now, I have to admit, by basically putting the actor there and the person there. Do you know what I mean? I can't distinguish them from anymore because they're bringing it into the shows now.
Yeah. And Ncuti's done that all the way, hasn't he? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Gosh, here we go. Well, we've got Noel Thrussell saying bye-bye Ncuti, and my Roku is here saying hit the road. Definitely a tune coming on there, everybody.
Yeah.
And Stephen is in the chat with us saying thanks, JT. That was a nice surprise. Not at all. You're very, very welcome, mate. Good to see you. And there it is with Steve going on with the song, and you come back no more. So it's great to see you all, everybody. Thank you so much for being with us this evening here on Whose Views. We've got a big show. Glenn's with us as well. Hello. And John's saying to us, Barry Sheen for the next Doctor. Wasn't that the guy?
Is he not dead?
I think Barry Shee's dead.
Yeah, I think he's dead.
He'd
Yeah.
still turn in a better performance than Ncuti, though, wouldn't he?
If we're bringing dead people into the running, come out, William Hartnell back, please. Thank you very much.
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah,
do you know what? With all the technology now, fellas, they could probably do it. They could probably do it. Paul, thank you for your Superman, for your super chat. Paul Ashworth, £5. Thank you so much. I hope Ncuti goes. He's not the worst Doctor because he isn't even one to begin with. He's just an imposter.
Yeah.
Well, the feelings are running very, very high with that there. So we're going to be coming to that very, very shortly anyway. But yeah, I just want you to point out as well, the new Doctor Who magazine hit the shelves of the shop. That stocked it this week. Yeah, as if anybody cares.
Do they really stock that many? Is it really a hit the shelves, or is it more of a flaccid flap?
Yeah.
Well, the one shop that stocks it takes about 10, so that's flooding it.
As many as 10, I'm quite surprised. It'll be 3 or something. Yeah.
It is ridiculous. Have you seen it? It's so much money every month. But there was this that I thought you might be interested in from Julie Gardner, who was interviewed by a particular person I don't want to mention, but she's an alleged Doctor Who fan that's blonde. You may know her. Anyway, Julie Gardner says in this, Doctor Who's executive producer Julie Gardner worked closely on the production of the 2024 Doctor Who prom. What was her favourite part of her involvement in the show? There are so many highlights throughout the development process. First, working on what's included in the programme. There's always an embarrassment of riches to choose from in the scores from Murray Gold and Sequins Akinola. Yeah. Lovely name. Julie has taken the time to answer Doctor Who magazine's questions amid the chaos of the day of the proms. I'm answering this from the dress rehearsal. Catherine Tate is hilarious and commanding as host. I love her. She's a highlight, as is the great Anita Dobson making an appearance as the mysterious Mrs. Flood. The talent on stage, soprano Ida Garifulino, whatever, blows the roof off the hall. It was a privilege to be in the same space as her. Sorry for getting your name on there, but I don't know who you are. The Doctor Who prom is an extension of the television show, but are there any similarities between preparing the concert and preparing an episode of the series to be made?
I should hope so.
Well, Julie says that there's an inevitable crossover of experience. A script is developed for the proms, edits are made, prep begins, casting happens for the host and guest appearances, rehearsal and technical bookings happen, and on it goes. There are stages in the process that I very much recognize from my work on the main show. And then, well, it takes its own unique path. There's nothing quite like the fear and exhilaration of a live show. It's been 11 years since the last Doctor Who prom. Really? That long? What was prioritized for this show? The priority is always the music, Julie explains. Since Ron Grainer's iconic theme and Delia Derbyshire's groundbreaking work, the music has been a vital character in the series. There's something magical about seeing families experience the orchestra and singers live, and it's an utter honor to have the opportunity to be at the Royal Albert Hall. There is nothing quite like it. This year's show featured some specially filmed scenes, including appearances from the villain. Does that say Villain X? I can't see that. Sorry, the villainous maestro and the 15th Doctor himself. What was the process like in bringing them to life from an executive producer's perspective? Everyone at Doctor Who loves realising these extra scenes. They're a reminder of the reach and scale of the show. And Russell always writes something witty and cheeky that celebrates the show and gets the live audience involved. Yes, indeed. Then it's always about the shooting schedule. This year, Russell had written a scene for the Doctor with Jinx Monsoon. Ncuti Gatwa was filming season 2, says Julie, and his schedule was jam-packed. So we were lucky to find a way to film with him. And Jinx was so busy in New York, his schedule was insane. We were incredibly lucky that he prioritized his time for us, and then we pieced it together. A shoot in Cardiff and New York, achieved in a flurry of activity, beautifully put together by our post team. Anita Dobson's live performance material for Mrs. Flood came in late, literally days before the concert, and she knocked it out of the park, commanding the entire audience to laughter and silence. But best of all is giving this prom to the fans and having us an opportunity to be an event with them. They mean so much, really. Thanks to Julie and the BBC Studios team, the 2024 Doctor Who prom will remain a day to remember for thousands of fans of the Whoniverse. Selective fans.
Tens of fans.
Yeah. Fans
they're,
that
they're all robots there, I remember, when I saw the pictures. All bots, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's one of these things, I look at this when I'm having my coffee in Tesco because I refuse to buy the thing. And I look at this and I'm thinking, right, hang on a minute. this is another example of just completely being in a bubble, denying the reality of what's around them. And they'll go to the Albert Hall, and I think they did 2 shows, didn't they, on the same day? And they'll go to this, and they'll have fans here that, God love them, are just going because it says it's Doctor Who, are just watching the thing because it says it's Doctor Who. There's no depth from them at all to be able to say, well, what is good. You know, they're not criticizing it in any way, shape, or form. They're just going along like melons, you know,
or
just
lemmings.
like sheep, you know, and it's just ridiculous. And they're just following it. And I just don't understand why. You know, as fandom, we should be coming along and saying this is utter nonsense. They did better in 1987. You know, so I don't know what you think, Who viewers, about this as well, guys. I don't know what you think about it, but I just thought this was another piece of propaganda, basically.
Well, I think they're desperately trying to hold it together and try and keep their heads high, thinking it's really good until they get the second lot out, and then that really puts a nail in the coffin of the series.
I think it's spin, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's pretty much what you're saying, Paul, isn't it? It's spin.
Yeah.
They're just trying to make it. I think they believe that if they say, "Oh, this is like they do with the ratings, if this is incredibly popular, this is fantastic. We've got so many people," in the hope that the wider general public believes it and thinks, "Oh, what am I missing here? Let me tune in." But it's not working, and they're not convincing. And to be fair, you know, I've seen her at a concert close up and giggles and laughs and says everything's wonderful like a dancing chimp. So to be quite honest, no, it's not anything you can take seriously, really.
No. Well, Matthew Brewers is saying to us here, I think I'm going to be sick. Gardner, please stay in America. This is what happens when the people, no disrespect to our American friends watching here, but when British people go and stay here, something happens to them, you know. And when they stay in America for such a long time, they come back and they're all high and mighty and glammed up. I mean, if you look at what Julie and Jane were like before they went to America, not that I'm saying anything there, but they were normal people. Then they come back as these glamazons, you know, with this whole ideology built into them. What goes on?
Well, I'm a Ricky Gervais in this. They don't live in the real world. If you watch his wonderful put downs for all these fantastic award ceremonies he does, he hits it the nail on the head superbly. Really does.
Well, that's why they don't like him, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thanks for all your comments here as well. Flat words, Julie, on the shoulders of giants. Oh, crikey, yeah. I mean, they say that. She said there, didn't she? You know, it was a case of like, there's so much music to deal with, but again, you're only dealing with your versions from 2005 onwards.
Yeah.
You know, Paul, you said because you listened to it, they did some of the radiophonic stuff. They did some of the proper Doctor Who music in the interval. I don't count that as right. You know, and
no,
when they did
not,
do
it won't be broadcast at all. That would be just on the radio. When they do it on the telly, that bit will be cut out, so there'll be no representation of classic Who at all, probably.
And there should be. If you go into a Doctor Who proms, I want to hear music from all Doctor Who, not just the selected ones that you're approving of. I want to hear that, and I don't want it in a 5-minute section as a tick boxing exercise. Mind you lot are very good at tick boxing things, aren't you? You know, that's all you ever blooming do. But I would like to see proper. I would like to see, you know, some of the classics up there. You know, I mean, come on. I mean, look at those composers that did the original Doctor Who. They were around for years.
Yeah. I mean, just Dudley Simpson alone has written so many fantastic pieces of Doctor Who music. You know, you could
do a whole proper prom with him, couldn't you, Paul?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And all the other composers as well, collectively together on their own for an hour and a half, no problem at all. You know?
Yeah, exactly. John is saying, I hate that word, Hooniverse. It's getting tired. And actually, it was originally brought up by us as fans, wasn't it? Years and years ago. And then Bad Wolf copyrighted it about 2 or 3 years ago. Ridiculous. So, yeah, hi, Steve. Nice to see you. Anita Dobson was better in EastEnders. Now, that's when EastEnders was hugely popular. Remember, it was getting 20, 30 million views, wasn't it? And that Christmas Day episode, which hung around her character, wow. Really,
I thought
good.
she was the best thing in the proms thing. She was very funny in it, I think. I quite liked her. More so at the proms than I did in the show, you know?
All right. Oh, right, fair enough. Mark Jones is saying, it wouldn't surprise me if Mrs. Flood is Adric.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, she'll take her mask off that the Master used to do. There'll be Adric underneath. Yeah. Seeking revenge.
It wouldn't surprise me if they didn't know who she is yet, because he hasn't got that far in writing. And
he's not written it down yet. Yeah.
Yeah. and Legion of James, good to see you. Do they rehearse what they're going to say, or do they just hand over a pre-printed paragraph to interviewer? Always the same guff and fluff, blowing their own trumpet. Yeah. I'm not taking anything away from Julie Gardner here, because it was her idea to come up with the proms all those years ago anyway. But I don't know. But it didn't seem...
I would be interested to see, sorry to interrupt you, JT, how busy it was in comparison to 11 years ago. You know, how popular it was on those two performances in terms of numbers, you know. Because
there were people there, but there were people there, but there was no press around it. There was no excitement around it. There was no energy around it, you know, and there was just silly things about it. You know, it was the public trying to get in last time, not just die-hard fans who will just buy anything with the logo on it. You know, the public got in.
Does the Albert Hall hold about 2,000 or 3,000 people?
Yeah.
So I mean, that's not a massive amount of people when you think about the general public per se, or the audience they're talking about. Even that is smaller than the audience that they're getting for the actual show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, when you consider, say, an average Premier League football match, you know, you're talking probably about 26,000, 27,000 people. And that puts it in context. You know, they turn up, they see a football match for 90 minutes and they go. That's an awful lot more people. Just for comparison.
Yeah, no, it's a good comparison as well.
Well, if you go to Leeds United and there's way more than that, but, you know, just saying the average Premier League one.
Well, I mean, the press surrounding the late, great Victoria Wood, when she sold out 7 consecutive nights when she did her one-woman show all those years ago. She was the first and only comedian to have done that to date. And the fuss around that, oh my goodness, she's managed to pack out the Albert Hall, pack out the... Do you know what I mean? So again, that's context for you there, isn't it? Atherstone 55, I don't understand the folks at Bad Wolf. They were fans of the show. Now they must realise they are destroying it. They do, but they're not going to acknowledge it because it's all about their agenda, isn't it? You know, that's all it is. It's all about that. So anyway, I just thought we'd go through that as well, because the more I look... once a month, I look at this Doctor Who magazine and all I just see is shallowness all the time. You know, there's just nothing decent in it. And from what I can tell, there's only 2 writers for it now as well. Everybody else is just, you know, and this particular one that annoys me, this young lady that's there, she was one of the ones that gave it the kiss of death in the Time team with those ridiculous opinions. And now she's got a job and she's got editing a book with more experienced people involved in it. Oh, please do me a favor. What's going on? Anyway, Julie Gardner should be quite busy at the moment, along with her colleagues down at Bad Wolf, because as you know, the first, so they say, in these new alleged special spin-off shows is in production right now. This one, of course, is the one we've been talking about to an extent. This is The War Between the Land and the Sea. This is from Wales Online. Doctor Who spin-off The War Between the Land and the Sea films in Cardiff city centre. Russell Tovey was spotted on the set of the new Doctor Who spin-off, which was being filmed at the City Arms on Quay Street in Cardiff City. Doctor Who spin-off The War Between the Land and the Sea has been filming in Cardiff city centre this week. While most of the filming took place inside the pub, which is the City Arms, Tovey, who was known for his roles in Being Human, Gavin and Stacey, and Sherlock, occasionally took breaks to get some fresh air. A unit van was also parked up on set, as were several actors dressed as unit soldiers. UNIT is a government agency frequently seen in Doctor Who. The new spin-off has been penned by Russell T Davies and takes place within the Whoniverse, the banner that unites Doctor Who and its many spin-offs. The 5-part series, which is being directed by Dylan Holmes Williams, will feature classic Doctor Who monster the Sea Devils, who first appeared in the 1972 John Pertwee story of the same name. The Sea Devils were last seen in the 2022 13th Doctor story, The Legend of the Sea Devils. Explaining the plot of The War Between the Land and the Sea at Comic-Con 2024, Russell T Davies explained, "There's a race that lives beneath the oceans. They wake up and they see the state of the oceans that we have put it in. We have wrecked the place and it is war on an epic scale. While the air date for the new spin-off series has not yet been confirmed, Doctor Who fans around the world will be pleased to hear that as a co-production between the BBC and Disney branded television, The War Between the Land and the Sea will be available to watch on BBC iPlayer in the UK and on Disney Plus where available." I'm sure you're all pleased to hear that.
Yeah, it doesn't sound any more exciting than it did a few weeks ago, does it? It's apart from I've got some scenes with Sea Devils in the pub. That sounds great. Yeah.
Well, let's see if the pictures get you excited about a bit more excited about it, Paul. Because thanks to the paper, we do have some images. Here we go. Filming took place at the City Arms in Cardiff on Wednesday afternoon. So there you go. That's exciting. That's really exciting. That's thrilling. You know, really thrilled at this. This is exciting.
Look at those cones.
Yeah, on Russell Tovey as well. There's Russell Tovey laughing and joking on the set of The War Between the Land and the Sea.
Bollards.
Because I didn't recognise him there. It doesn't look much like him.
Do you think it was the rare occasion of the sun?
Possibly, yeah.
Could be that, couldn't it? I love this one, though. This is really, really good. An unknown actress was also seen filming.
Which one? Because we don't know these days, do we?
No, but it's an unknown actress. That's so important that they took a photo of an unknown actress seen filming. That happens all the time, paper.
Yeah.
Honestly, happens all the time. It's probably an extra. And why are they all dressed in these stupid 90s type clothes? Just costumes are awful, absolutely dire. I'm starting already and I haven't seen it. Unit soldiers were on set. Oh, hurrah.
I don't like the unit uniforms. They're not as iconic as the classic ones at all, are they? Just look like
Police.
riot police. That's it, yeah.
I was literally just thinking that. I mean, the original unit troops, they're not supposed to be like an arm of the government security service. They're not government at all. You know, they're international, part of the United Nations originally, and they should wear khaki. Standard combat outfits, not that rubbish.
Yeah. Well, that was that one there. We've also got this one. A unit van was also present.
Now that looks like Securicor turned up to take the money away from the pub, doesn't it?
Or they could mean the blue thing with the handle, though, couldn't they?
Oh, could be, yes, of course.
Fence cuts and all that.
Yeah, that trolley may be identifying as a unit van.
Yeah.
And those bins in the back are identifying as Daleks.
Yeah.
Because the originals are too problematic.
Absolutely. So there we go.
They're the bins back from Rose, probably, aren't they? The Auton bins. Yeah.
The Auton bins. Yeah. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm now really, 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 really excited.
Can't wait.
Lots of response to this. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us this evening on this. Look at this. First and probably last spin-off, says Julianne. Hello, Julianne. How are you? And Matthew Pounder is saying at least it's only 5 episodes. Yeah. Hello to Garbage and to Kirsty, who are both in the chat with us tonight. Hello, nice to see you. And Garbage is saying to us, Hooniverse brings together, yeah, right.
Yeah.
And Komodo. Go on, Paul.
I was going to say, I think the Hooniverse is surrounded by entropy, and it's closing in as we speak.
Who would have thought that the fans would turn into the entropy?
I know, exactly.
There we go. Komodo is here with us saying these dreaded words penned by Russell T. Davies.
In crayon. Yeah.
Exactly. In crayon. And Marjorie, hello, Marjorie. Can't wait to turn off the television when the spin-off comes on. So Legion of James is also saying, so it's basically going to be pushing climate change agenda relentlessly. We all saw it coming, though, didn't we? Yeah. I've told you before, I've said before, I think it's going to be like the Aquaman movie, you know, where the Atlanteans throw out the rubbish again from the sea, believing that the sea must be gorgeous to go and swim in. Don't have to worry about it, but they just throw it all out. I think it's going to be something like that, where the sea devils pop up and go, here's your rubbish, and then cause a war. Yeah. And who can blame them? Who can blame them, to be honest?
I think we should get you to do the voices, though, instead of Nick Briggs. Can you get you to do them?
I'd be delighted to do it. I'd charge what he charges as well. John is saying to us, it sounds like we'd all be preached at. Well, come on.
By the Sea Devils as well, probably, yeah.
We know it. We know it's going to be like that, don't we? We just know it. Yeah, there's lots of this coming from. Stephen Braddock is saying to us, where's the unit classic uniform? I hate these modern versions. Yeah. What didn't they give a reason why they changed those uniforms for the Sontaran stratagem? Wasn't there one? I'm sure Russell said, oh, we've done this, haven't we? We should have seen the writing on the wall back then, shouldn't we?
Yeah, we should have done.
Really, but we didn't, because we were actually quite engrossed in it all, weren't we? So I don't know. And Hugh Janus is with us. Hello, mate. Once again, super sci-fi space Cardiff. I know. You think with all the money they'd be able to go somewhere else now? I mean, why?
I don't want to be Welshish about this, but well, they have.
Well, be careful because Badwe is watching. Hi, Badwe. He's on the train right now.
Yeah, I'm just. This is not a Welsh anti-Welsh sentiment at all. But will
Oh.
these Sea Devils have Welsh accents? Because the
Yes, of
local
course
Sea
they will.
Devils. Well, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Just
of course
wondered.
they will.
Yeah.
Don't they already? Yes.
I mean, it's being filmed there, but is it actually being set there?
That's a good point, Ian.
It's a
Yeah,
good
because
point.
they're going to be around the world, aren't they, for 3 scenes?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Well, you would think I was going to say you would think that with all the money they're spending on this show, allegedly, not just this show, but the whole thing, the whole shoot, you know, they could have gone somewhere else to do it. Why not abroad
Yeah.
to film?
Yeah.
You know, especially as Disney's backing it now as well. I mean, if it's a spin-off, I'm not as protective about Doctor Who spin-offs being filmed in Britain if it's going to do a better story, apart from that god-awful Torchwood one, which was just ridiculous, wasn't it? What was that called? I forgot what it was called. The one where they went to America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Miracle Day. Miracle Day.
That's right. Yes, Miracle Day.
Thank you, the old brain cells. Thank you very much. They might be kicking in now. But yeah, but that was awful. But with the right story, you could have the Sea Devils anywhere in the world, couldn't you?
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily always have to be in Britain for it. I don't know. Again, we'll wait for all this, won't we, till we actually see it. Judged already, as has Richard. 5 crapisodes. And Timkins. Hello to you, sir. Nice to see you. Greetings. It's good to make a live stream. Well, it is good to see you as well. You are very welcome to Who's Views. Nice to see you, and hope you're keeping well. Lovely, lovely, lovely to see you. So what else we got here? Yeah, so thank you for that, everybody. Pooh's Lost Eyes is saying to us a spin-off. It's more like a turn-off. Clever. Pooh's Lost Eyes. Richard is saying to us, it will be like Praxis, the lame JW episode. Oh, I don't know anything about that. Who's JW? Oh, Whittaker.
Jodie Whittaker, yeah, that was you expected the serial to turn up, but they never did in that one. But, yeah.
Oh, really?
I can't even remember that one. It was so.
That's the one when people exploded. Remember that, when they're all kind of covered in like shell stuff and they exploded with the astronaut and his husband. Remember? Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Genuinely forgot that.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably best for the best.
For the best. Yes.
What if the Sea Devils run into Godzilla? They don't have the budget for that one or the rights. And Myroku and Marjorie again. Torchwood Miracle Day was an abomination. It was so dull. You know, up until a while ago, i.e., around about April this year, that was one of the worst pieces of television I'd ever seen. That's why I got clicked off. And then I saw Doctor Who 2024, and Timkins is saying it's a miracle it got commission day. Yeah, totally. I mean, you could just, again, that was something else that had an agenda in it. Oh, we've got to make it big in America. Here's our chance. Let's get the ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching.
They could never have topped Children of the Earth, though, because that was superb.
No.
That was
superb.
Yeah, they couldn't have followed that anyway, whatever they did. You know?
Yeah. Glenn is reminding me it was a 10-part story. Sorry, Ian?
They didn't even get close. You know,
No.
Miracle Day was really, really good. All they did was double the length and make it really, really crap.
Yeah.
You know.
Glenn's reminding us here, Torchwood Miracle Day was a 10-part story. I don't even get that far. I lost it around about 3 or 4. I just thought, what the hell is this? But where they left Cardiff after the hub got destroyed, I was just, what is this? Neville, hiya, Neville. Miracle Day was a rip-off of The Changers. And Matthew's standing in the corner right now with his head in his hands as he actually says, I really like Miracle Day.
Well, that's allowed. That's allowed. You can like something and we can dislike it. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah, but I'm still just making a note.
Is he off your Christmas card list now? Is that what you're going to do?
Absolutely. No, I love him. So that's fine there. Okay, we've got all that going. But yes, there we go. But that was another latest bit. That's what where we're up to. They've been seen filming now for this Sea Devil spin-off, The War Between the Land and the Sea. It's underway, everybody. We'll be keeping you updated when we see things about that as we go through the next few months towards Christmas, and then whatever happens in the new year, you can count on that. So anyway, one thing I do want to say is Ncuti Gatwa. Oh, here we go. Ncuti Gatwa has been in the rumor circuit. Now, we've got to actually say that these are rumors. These are rumors that broke this week just gone here. Now, I don't know how or why this came through, guys, but I know you fellas saw this as well, and everybody in the chat, you have seen this. But the Blubber Doctor himself was allegedly, according to the rumor, fired from Doctor Who. And he was going. He was about to. He had done, actually. The rumor I saw, he had done his final scenes. He had fallen out now with RTD. RTD had said, right, this is enough of this. This is enough of them. I'd also seen that he'd had diva attitude on set. He'd spun on his heels too many times for everybody. It doesn't sound like Ncuti Gatwa doing that to me. You know, he is a professional, and he has been sort of been brought up in that element of show business where you can't really do it. But I don't know. I all smack too much of, hang on a minute, I've heard all this before. When it came to Whittaker, it was the same sort of stories. And yet we know how that turned out. We know that actually, the entire production team was in fact shut down and let go out the end of contract, and then it was given to an independent, as we know. So I don't know what you guys made of all this, you know, this whole thing about this rumor this week. Let's have a good chat about this.
Well, you're right. It's like the Whittaker thing. I remember when that kicked off, it was chaos in Cardiff, da, 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 and it was all really dramatic, you know, and all that. Yeah. And then eventually, like you said, it did fold, and then they put it out to tender, and we got Bad Wolf. Yay! But I think it's all nonsense, really, to be honest. I don't think this is how it works. He may be within contract within the 2 years. I've heard rumours that they've left it open-ended to bring the series back with another Doctor, and there's another person in the frame to play the
But
part.
that's exactly what was being said about the Jodie Whittaker series. I mean, at the time, I remember saying to people at the time, I was hearing at the time, the show's coming off air. Because BBC Studios were saying, right, it's done. We've had enough now. The ratings are going down. It's something that, but I was also hearing, but they know they've got something and they want to do something else. And it's only when Russell stepped in and said, "Oh, I can do this, and I want to bring Bad Wolf," they went, "Aha! Here's the solution." Egg on face. I want to say hi to Catherine Reed, who's just joining us. Hello, Catherine. I'm expecting the Sea Devils in their gunned-up wheelchairs. That would be different.
Because they won't be the villains, will they, if they're the Sea Devils? Because that's kind of a perspective of being empathetic, isn't it, really?
Yeah. We've got this as well from Pooh's Lost Eyes. This could always be a spin job from Davies. The guys is a two-faced Janusian hack, allegedly. Remember Chris Eccleston? Okay. What's Garbage saying to us? RTD said, "I am the bestest ever." Then Ncuti said, "I am the bestest ever." Then Jodie appeared out of nowhere and said, "No, Yaz is the bestest ever." Yeah.
It is embarrassing, though, isn't it? Really. I mean, there were all those stories and rumors of Whittaker and everything, and it did turn out to be true, didn't it? But that was when it was very much a BBC production, whereas with Gatwa, we just don't know. But I wouldn't be sorry at all. But I don't think it's right that somebody else comes in and takes over. I don't think it's right that there's another change. We haven't had somebody established in the role playing it properly and seriously and competently for 7-8 years now. And
well, I mean, to be honest, I wouldn't be. I'd be happy if Ncuti was leaving to get another actor to have a crack at to make it work. But as I said many times before, I think it's too late. Far too late.
Oh, it's far too. I mean, the show's dead. We've said many times on headlines. The British public just aren't there for it now. Without the British public, I don't care what people think. Without the British public, there's no Doctor Who. It's the end of the story. It's not a show like the Warner Brothers shows that is made for a minority of a fan base. This is made for much more, and there's no interest out anywhere. Hello to Humans Call Me Steve. Not seen you before, so welcome to Who's Views. It's nice to see you. Please make sure you subscribe. It sounds like RTD stitching him up like he did with Eccleston. And can I also just say hello to P. Santini? It's nice to see you as well. Is Gatwa bad, or is it just the scripts? I haven't been watching. I haven't felt the urge since early Capaldi. Well, I'll tell you, P. Santini.
It's both.
It's both.
Yeah.
And if you go back and look at our review shows here on Who's Views of those 8 incredible weeks that we had to go through, you will see us losing the will to live on a weekly basis. You can actually even go and see our end of series review for it as well, where we're just so relieved that the thing is gone. But we do this thing on Who's Views Reviews, which is called Scores on the TARDIS Doors, where each of the panel get to vote out of 10 what they want to vote for on that show. And this series was the first series ever to score zeros for the first 2 episodes and some others. It got zeros. It was shocking because it was just that bad. But thank you for joining us. Nice to see you.
I think the thing is, I've said this many times, I think a certain actor can play the Doctor and it has to be cast properly. That, as we've said many times before, you said it a lot, GT, that the past 2 incarnations weren't cast right, and I agree with that completely.
Totally.
You need an actor who can play the part properly, and it has to be written properly. I think Idris Elba would struggle with a script like he had, that Ncuti had, and he's a brilliant actor. You know what I mean? So it's kind of it's who's right for the part. I don't think Idris Elba's right for the Doctor. It's a certain actor has to play it, but it has to be a good actor to start with anyway, to give them half a chance. And the writing's diabolical.
You need an actor that can act. Neville is saying to us, this rumor reeks of someone on the production wanting to rubbish Gatwa. I think it's just fans. I think it's just come from the usual thing with fans, where fans are sitting around like we're all doing now, everybody. And we criticize the show, we comment on the show, you know, we show our concerns for the show. We celebrate the show on many of our shows as well. You know, because we love Doctor Who. We are fans. We love the show. We just don't like where it's being taken. That's all it is. And we don't like what's happening to it. And I think it's one of these things where fans have got together and went, "Oh God, Ncuti Gatwa, he needs to go," blah blah. And it's just gone into that. You know, it's cabbages and kings. You know, and it's just, and then for these sites to pick it up and to say, "Oh, I want to put out at this point as well. I once upon a time used to be able to hear things about Doctor Who, and I can't go into too much detail, but I used to have people that really knew what was going on. Now, if I go to those people now and say, "Have you heard anything about Doctor Who?" A, the eyes roll because they really don't care. They go, "Oh God," and secondly, they say no because it's no longer something that is being spoken about in the way it used to be spoken about, and also because it's now run by Bad Wolf in a smaller encampment to the BBC, where everybody's under a contract, and it means that if anybody did spill the beans with something, they'd be able to find out whom within hours and fire them. In this day and age, nobody's going to put their job on the line, especially in that industry, because you can get blacklisted, as we know. You can actually not work again for quite some time until somebody's brave enough to say, "Oh, now we'll forgive you." You know,
this story smacks of. I mean, you're saying that, you know, people have contacts and people say, "I know so and so," blah blah blah. This smacks of, I know the caretaker who works at Bad Wolf Studios, and he heard this. It feels a bit like that. You know what I mean? It's like 8 times removed. You know.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see that a lot of the Who viewers tonight, you guys in the chat, are actually a little bit doubtful as well about this. Matt532 is saying, "I wouldn't be surprised if Disney or RTD leaked the rumor to gauge the response from the fans." And Sheila B is saying, "Story to keep Doctor Who in the public eye." The problem was, Sheila B, that of course it didn't hit the newspaper because the newspapers don't care. It was purely on social media, on alleged fan sites. And it did for a little while go mad on Twitter X as well, of course. It went insane on that, as it would do. But nobody outside the small circle of Doctor Who fans cares. But it was just one of these stories this week that I thought, right, let's talk about this. Let's discuss this, because we obviously feel Ncuti's miscast. A lot of you in the chat feel Ncuti's miscast. But was this the right way to put something about? What is your opinion about this rumor? Pooh's Last Eyes is saying Doctor Who did come off air. It was cancelled. Davis repitched it to Bad Wolf, BBC and Disney. That's what happened, yeah. I mean, BBC Studios were ending the series, hence why you were supposed to get the pan out, you know, where the camera moves back from the regeneration scene. That was supposed to go to black, credits, and come back one day if it was lucky.
Yeah.
But then those watch-along things came along, and Catherine Tate said, "Wouldn't it be great if we could do this again?" Russell got excited. Tennant got excited. They go back to the BBC and say, "Is it possible?" BBC Studios went, "Well, actually, yes, it is." And then they had to make it tie up with everything rather than, "Oh, we know where it went from then." It just went nonsense, didn't it? Legion of James is saying to us here, maybe Ncuti watched his episodes and agreed with the fans that his episodes were utter rubbish, demanded better writing, and RTD threw a strop. Can't see that being true. But remember that the second series is in the can. It's been filmed. It's done. And he's now out of contract, everybody. He's now out of contract. So to bring him back for whatever they're going to do after this will mean a new contract. So my opinion would be that if they are letting him go, and it's all speculation, it's all rumor, if he is come back, he might do, as I've said before, the series of specials or another sort of series of some sort or another. And then they could all call it a day and save face, because I guarantee you the second series is not going to improve on the ratings of the first.
No,
it's not.
And like you said before, that they are contractually obligated to do a certain number of episodes, aren't they?
And I
Yeah.
think that's done. I think,
Right.
well, actually, the production team might be contracted to do a certain set of episodes, but don't forget, you've got the Christmas specials, Series 1, Series 2, and the Sea Devil
Spin-off.
thing.
Yeah.
So that's their episodes all there. Who
Yeah.
they hire to shoot those episodes and star in those episodes is totally up to them, because they can break it down any way they want. So Ncuti would have had possibly, allegedly, a contract to say, here's a contract for what, 18 episodes.
Yeah.
19 maybe, because he might have done 3 Christmas specials. He's done that, the Church on Ruby Road, Joy to the World. He might have done another one, I'm not sure. And then the 2 8 episodes in the middle.
Yeah.
And then other people have been contracted to do the Sea Devil thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen people speculate online that if it was so unsuccessful, it would be making the spin-off. But I agree with what you're saying. They've contracted these episodes together. They're going to do that, work their contract, and if by the incredible miracle that season 2 is better and people like it, then it might get a continuation. But I very much doubt that. But I think that they have to do their obligation, and that's it. And then it'll be canned after that.
Yeah. Well, again, we'll have to see. I mean, they're going to try and keep this going. I think we'll know more next year, obviously. I mean, bearing in mind that Russell has said there's going to be no announcement of a decision as to whether Disney stays as part of the partnership until after season 2 is broadcast. Now, at this stage, we don't know when season 2 is going to be broadcast. We've now also got this Sea Devil thing to go in. So they could show season 2 early in the new year, or they could save it to the middle, or they could even move it to next year because it's in the can. And they've still got these 5 episodes from this Sea Devil thing to fill in any gap or come after it.
Yeah.
So the world's their oyster. They can just mess it around wherever they want to now, couldn't they?
They've got plenty of league time to make up the 3rd season or a series of specials, no problem, without any gaps in the schedule for Doctor Who, I think.
Yeah, exactly. One thing I would say to them as well is, as with last night, don't put it on at the end of the year, because if it survives its 20th season, which started last night, the end of the year is strictly Come Dancing, and that started last night. I meant to look at what the overnight ratings were, but completely forgot. But we'll look at that in the future. We've got Dalek Eye saying Millie was supposedly fired for similar reasons. Rumours are just rumours until proven otherwise, but we can only hope. And
Fingers
Mark
crossed.
Greaves is saying to us, is it only Disney that could pull the trigger on RTD? No, not at all. No. Doctor Who is still a BBC vessel. It's still their property. They're just in partnership with Bad Wolf, and Disney's come along with the distribution outside the UK. So because of that, they get a say in the production. But no, it would have to be the BBC and Bad Wolf, and there's no way they're going to do that.
Yeah, Disney is out of the equation really anyway, because they can renew what they want. But Bad Wolf are, in charge of Doctor Who. The interesting thing is, how long have they got it for? That's the interesting thing. How long they license it for before the BBC want it back?
Yeah, because it won't be perpetual, will it? They'll have a time frame on it.
5 years or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking with regards to the spin-off. I suppose it depends if series 2 has something that leads into it, in which case they would have to put it on before the spin-off.
Yeah,
I think they've learned from that, though, Ian.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a line in 73 Yards. There's a Silurian in the Christmas one, but I think they've learnt that. And we don't know what audience they're going for this. Obviously, Doctor Who was meant for a bizarre audience, a minority audience that doesn't really exist. Personal pronoun using audience. That was who that was for. You've got this one they're putting in with the Sea Devils. We don't know if it's going to be more Touchwood, Children of Earth style. It's only 5 nights. So you don't know what their plan is, because they haven't told it. They haven't said anything yet. So it's interesting, but I don't think they're going to do that again, because that would tie them to a transmission pattern, which Disney could change any time at all, because they hold the distribution rights of when they put it out in Disney World.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which wouldn't work for any fans that are watching it in Disney World out there outside the UK, which isn't many.
So 5 o'clock in the morning, you mean, something like that? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You just don't know, do you? We just don't know. Eccleston has a story to tell, says The Truth Is Up There, but I suspect he hasn't, because he still wants to work in the industry. Now, Chris is so hard. He's a Salford Hardman. He wouldn't care. He would not care. And he did go through that whole blacklisting, allegedly, part of his work as well. He got through all that. I remember him once saying when somebody said, "Oh, what are you doing now?" No, I'm an unemployed Time Lord, which I thought was quite funny at the time. But then I realised why he was saying that, because he was getting around to all this stuff. So,
is he not writing a book at the moment? Do we not have a hint about that?
allegedly, I heard he had been offered another book, and he was considering it, and he was looking into doing that. So who knows what that will be? But there you go. He knows that people will buy it and then go and buy a ticket to see him, and then buy his autograph to sign the thing. He's not daft, put it that way. Stephen Braddock is saying to us, Doctor Who's future now lies in its past. Ooh,
oh yes, yeah,
that's very
deep.
That's the word. But you know what? Didn't it always? Though, when Doctor Who came off the air, it was the past that kept it going.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be the same now, because now with the Blu-ray box sets coming on, and God knows what else they think of next, because I just don't think it's sustainable with this new version that's been around for this year, because it's so 2024 and so weak and so boring. I think it's going to get lost in television. I don't think anyone's going to come back to it in 50 years at all. You know, I think
it's very much been non-event TV, hasn't it?
Oh, totally.
It's not fired people up. It's not got people's imaginations going. It's not, you know, if it had, its ratings would have gone up, not down in the direction that it did.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I don't think there's any future for it. It'd be very interesting to see what happens on Christmas, the big day when the family is supposedly sitting around television now. I don't think people do anymore, because there's nothing worth on. Mrs. Brown's Boys.
Well, even if they do, they'll be watching ITV instead, probably. You know.
I'd rather watch a 30-year-old, a 40-year-old, a 50-year-old James Bond movie, to be quite honest.
Or
now
we
will be watching Joy to the World, so we can review it on this channel with you guys and see what you think about it if you're watching it. And even if you're not watching it, you can come and see what we thought, etc., etc. Absolutely, the last place Doctor Who belongs is Disney Plus, says Timkins. That's for streaming shows with niche audiences. Exactly. That really is, you know, that show there, didn't it? I mean, we've said before, Timkins, on this show, it's as though Disney went, we need to own all these little niche cult dramas so that it makes us look popular. You know, Star Wars, the Marvel franchise, Doctor Who, whatever else, you know, it just, the Muppets even. I mean, it's just typical of Disney, isn't it? Absolutely awful. And Matt532, they could get the perfect actor in, but unless they improve the scripts and get rid of the woke agenda, it will continue to fail. Now, that's the other thing that made me a bit sort of wary this week, guys, about this rumor which blew up over 48 hours, is that some people were even saying that Ncuti Gatwa's predecessor has already been contracted, and it was an actor called Tyler Fayose, or Fayose. Now, I didn't know who that was, so I looked him up, and I just thought, why? Where's the contrast? No disrespect. It's another black actor. Don't know him at all. He's probably very, very capable, but why? And that's when I thought, oh, this is fans. This is just fans saying, you know, and it's the tick box brigade saying, right, if you're going to get rid of that actor, you have to hire him with a carbon copy.
Yeah, it seems too similar to be a contrast to the next Doctor, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. You know, I just don't think, and this is when I was thinking, this is when people are thinking, right, if you're going to get rid of one particular person, the carbon copy must come in, and it must be the same character or something. I think this is from people who aren't even fans now, because they don't realize that the Doctor regenerates and he changes his body and therefore his appearance. Hello, Domgo. It's nice to see you. There's Domgo joining us, everybody. P. Santini saying, thanks, Likes, for the heads up. I so want things to be great again with proper stories. I don't mind crap effects. How is it so hard? Well, unfortunately, it's the show business industry right now, P. Santini, isn't it? And as we featured many, many times on this show here on Who's Views, unfortunately, we have a cult in control of the show. That's it. They're not interested in good science fiction anymore. They're not interested in good storytelling. All they're interested in is making sure that all their agendas are broadcast to people that are watching, which isn't many here in the UK. Let's face it. Isn't that right, guys?
Oh,
overestimated, wasn't it? It was at the census 0.3%, and it's been acknowledged now that they overestimated that, so it's less than that. It's amazing that they put so much resource into targeting such a tiny fraction, whereas it used to be for everybody, regardless.
Yeah, not anymore. Dougie Stewart saying Andrew Lincoln for me as the Doctor. Now, I once championed Andrew Lincoln in the Wilderness Years. I was saying, there's Andy Lincoln. He was Egg, of course, in This Life, that brilliant show, very 90s. I caught an episode of it the other day on one of the channels, and I went, I used to love this. Oh my God, because it really has dated, because it's set very much in 96, 97 type era, you know. but by God,
He's
certain
in The
generation,
Walking
we
Dead,
loved it.
isn't he? He's in The
He
Walking
was
Dead.
in The Walking Dead.
Yeah,
He's a big name now, isn't he?
yeah.
I don't think he would touch Doctor Who with a barge pole now. I think
No.
he's
He
too
was
big,
very good
too
in
wise.
Peaches.
Yes, I remember him as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I've forgotten about that. That's before he went to
Yeah.
America, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, good for him, though, because he's had a cracking career. Domgo is saying to us, looks like RTD is throwing someone under the bus and it's going to be Gatwa. That's an interesting way of looking at it as well, isn't it? But it is just a rumour. We've got to point that out again. And I think it's come from fans. And fans getting excited again about certain things. As I said before, Domgo, I know you've just joined us. It smacks so much of what happened with Whittaker.
Yeah. I think we've talked to this already. I know we all feel the same way about it, that it's never going to have another chance to do it again. But let's say, in a little theory, if it was ever go again, they've got so many things they have to learn from this iteration of the show, but they're too up themselves to think about that, and they're too proud, they're too egotistical to change anything, that we'll just get more of the same with a different actor, surely, will we?
Yeah.
Yes, I think you're right, Paul. Hello to my name is Charlie at saying cancel it. Yeah, okay. You're not going to get any argument from me there. Paul, I think you're right there. And it's a case of actually with these people that are now in control of our beloved show. It's like when Gareth came on the show. Gareth Roberts has been here on Headlines with us, everybody. You can find it on the playlist. And he came on to talk about his new book, The Rise of the New Homophobia. And we were talking about this. And I asked him a question which was sort of, you know, what you've just said, Paul. Why can't they see what's going on? And Gareth said to me, and it's actually true when you think about it. They've gone so far down a certain path that to start turning back now is massively embarrassing for them. And none of them can say, I'm wrong. Oh, I was wrong. Why? If you are wrong about something, even if you've been championing something for about a year or 2 years or something, really banging it, it makes you look a bigger person if you come out and say, oh my goodness, I got this wrong. And I'm sorry to everybody I know who's been offended. I know this. I've now got my facts. This is what I'm going to do about it. I mean, doesn't it make you more of a human?
Yeah.
Gets you more respect in the long run as well.
Wouldn't you think so?
I mean, I definitely think the series now is in a worse state than it was in '89 in terms of public appeal or opinion, or how it was perceived in terms of being like Paul Daniels as the next Doctor, all that kind of stuff. You know, it's very much back to that again. It's a laughing stock. It's a joke. It's you know, a cliched Doctor Who again, you know.
Well, you're right, Paul. It's worse now because we've got all this nonsense coming into it as well. Because when Doctor Who gets critiqued, as it does all the time, on the rivals to the BBC, who the BBC are constantly trying to shut down because they don't like a differing opinion or a different a way of broadcasting. You know, and there is BBC staff that try to get their competitors closed down all the time and whip up nonsense on social media and call them the usual right-wing, isphobe arts. You know, it's all nonsense. It's just different way of broadcasting and people's opinion. But this is where we're at, isn't it? You know, it's all about that, really. It's just a case of like, oh my goodness. And we've got here with Mike Disney actually saying to us, with DEI being the BBC's top priority, no new Doctor would get a decent script. Last week here on Headlines, we reported how the BBC is investing a further £80 million of the BBC license fee payers' money into DEI. Go back and have a look at that one. That was an interesting one. It's shocking, actually. But how much money? And nobody. Oh God, I'm going again. I'm getting so angry about this. I just think
nearly 400,000 licenses, wasn't it?
Yeah. Shocking. They should be making programs, not blooming worrying about somebody's pronouns or their feelings, which change day to day from what I can tell with these idiots. Hello, Mark. Mark Jones saying to us here with the lovely Les Dawson picture there. RTD said the end of the next series is open-ended. There is a rumour that Taylor Fayosi, that's who I mentioned, who appeared in Casualty. Is that where he's from? Thank you. Is next up for the Doctor. And yes, he's black and gay. Listen, we've got no problem with a gay actor taking the role of the Doctor on this channel. We have no problem with a black actor taking a role of this channel. I do personally on this channel have a problem with a female taking the role of the Doctor, because the Doctor for me is never a woman. He's always a Time Lord, a male Time Lord. So I don't care what color he is or what his sexual orientation is, as long as he can bloody act. That's all I want. But this is what I meant, Mark, you know, by a carbon copy. And I think that's why it's come from these fans who would say, oh my God, if Ncuti's going, we need to get another one that looks like him. Why? he can regenerate. Where's the ginger doctor, for crying out
Well,
loud?
that's why Richard Hundle didn't take over from Hartnell after Hartnell left. That's why it worked. That's why it continued. You know,
exactly.
Yeah.
And I remember John saying famously, John Nathan Turner said famously, there was no way Colin Baker could follow Tom Baker.
Yeah.
No.
Not just because they have the same surname, but because they looked similar and had the same sort of poise.
Yeah.
Although Colin was a little bit more aggressive, but Tom had that. So that's why it works now, because you've got Tom, Peter, Colin. Contrast. John was always going on about contrast. And sometimes now I think these people running the show today should have listened to John, should go back and listen to it and read what John says about how to cast the Doctor, because they've had, in my opinion, 2 spectacular miscasts in our beautiful show. Yeah. And I'm never going to forgive them for that, Who viewers. I'll be very, very honest. Never. Julianne, RTD scapegoating Ncuti Gatwa. Ultimate responsibility for the show is RTD's. You are absolutely right. He keeps reminding us of that as well, doesn't he? And the Peter Venkman fan site. Even if they went back and decided to give McGann a proper series, I wouldn't trust the modern writers and co. to not run the ship around before getting it out of dry dock. I totally. I mean, but the other problem with that is I do still see this, and I've said it before. I've seen fans come along and say, "Oh, please give McGann a series. Please give McGann a series." They're not going to, because it'd be more popular than the Ncuti Gatwa series.
Yeah, I think the Night of the Doctor little mini episode got more viewers than any of Ncuti's episodes, and that was online.
Yeah. Go and stand in the corner to Timkins. I may be a minority, but a female doctor I'm cool with, as if you say they're good. I've always thought Natalie Dormer would be great. Who's she? No. My problem with this, Timkins, is the Doctor is not a female. It was written in deliberately for DEI. It was brought in to say, oh, we've got to do this at some point. We've got to bend the knee and do this. If you go back, of course, as you probably have done, to watch proper Doctor Who, that's not what the Time Lords did. You had Time Lords and you had Time Ladies. What was wrong with that? What was wrong?
And when Tom Baker said it, in 1980 at that press conference, it was a joke.
It was a joke.
It was a wicked joke, which then hung around the show.
Yeah.
Oh,
naughty Mr. Baker. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. The only time it didn't hang around the show, I don't know if you guys remember. I don't remember seeing much of it around in '96 because you didn't get the chance.
No,
you know, because in the wilderness years when they were going, oh, Paul Daniels could be the Doctor or all this sort of stuff, it did sort of change a little bit as some of the big actors of the day started to get their names mentioned in the press. But I never really I don't remember seeing women. And they got round to it all, of course, that January, didn't they, in '96, when they went, oh, by the way, here's the news. Paul McGann signed the contract. He's the new Doctor Who and he films tomorrow.
Yeah.
Proper way to do something. Never worry about anything else. Just get it done.
I can appreciate Timkin's view, respect the opinion. I do not agree with it at all. I think a female Doctor is and always will be absolutely atrocious. But who would, just out of interest, what man would Timkins have play Romana? Yeah, I mean, the Doctor and Romana. If the Doctor's a woman, what man would you have as Romana?
See, this is where it gets silly. They don't think that. I mean, they'll always say now, oh, they did it with the Master. But for me, Misty didn't work. No. I mean, the actress, Michelle, she's wonderful. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. They should have given her own villain, not something that was a hand-me-down from 3 previous actors, if you're including the American fella. So what was his name? Eric Roberts. Yeah. So it's a case of no. She was billed as the Guardian of the Hemisphere. What a fabulous Doctor Who title for a villain. Yeah. I got excited about that. I think, oh my, and it turns out to be a
I agree. I thought Michelle Gomez was brilliant as the cat she was playing, but she wasn't the Master. And when it was revealed she was the Master, I was so disappointed. It really was.
Yeah. Nathan Huggins is asking a question here. Do you think an American actor could play Doctor Who with a British accent? I'm going to have to say to you, Nathan, no. I mean, I'm still on the borderline with Ncuti because they've sold him as Scottish, but he isn't actually Rwandan. And to go back on myself now to say, after I've been saying for years, it must always be a British actor is hypocritical. And I don't want to be a hypocrite.
I think accents are difficult to convince people. If you live in that particular country, you'd recognize someone putting on an accent. If you've ever seen Dracula with Gary Oldman and Keanu Reeves as with his English accent, and that's very interesting. Say no more.
I don't think I have.
Yeah.
Hang on a minute, have I? Was that in the 90s?
Yeah, it's Gary Oldman, Anthony Hopkins, Keanu Reeves as Jonathan
Yes.
Harker in it. Yeah,
That's the one.
and he's got the worst RP English accent I've ever heard in film history.
I do remember going to the pictures about that. I don't remember watching it because I fell asleep. They were trying to do an
Francis Ford
interview.
Coppola, I think, directed it. I think, yeah.
Yeah, it's around about that time with the interview with the vampire with Tom Cruise, wasn't it? And all that sort of stuff. We were trying to do that homoerotic thing, and didn't work for me.
I much prefer Dracula Dead and Loving It with Leslie Nielsen instead. It's much better.
Oh, that was a good one. I do remember that. Matthew Burrows is saying, yep, Paul, 100% RTD has wrecked it. So we are talking about, right now, we're talking about this rumour that happened this week. This is the first rumour we're going to be looking at this week because it has been Rumourville around Doctor Who this week. But this is the first one that Ncuti Gatwa has gone. All these things that suddenly start appearing, and you can tell that they're rumors in a sense because suddenly it gets built on with story after story after story after story, and you just think, hang on a second, this doesn't sound right. And then when somebody comes out and says, oh, I've heard now that's here's his replacement, and here. So I think everybody should just calm down and realize that a rumor is a rumor. And personally, I think the show isn't going to stay on for much longer. I think it has run its course, and I think it's somebody somewhere has to start saying, this has no future right now. Actually, Legion of James, thank you, Matthew, for that. Season 2 has gone down the
I hope he's right.
Well, yeah, and Legion of James is saying, Doctor Who needs a long hiatus. The show is dead. We don't need or want another Doctor. Fan fiction, nonsense, multiverse garbage, none of it. Leave the Doctor to rest and recover. It worked last time.
They do need to retcon an awful lot when it eventually does come back, though. You can't just build on what's gone before because you're building on absolute catastrophic rubbish.
Well, but they haven't handed anything in it, have they? They haven't handed anything for people to build on because there's no audience. You need an audience before you can actually bring a show back. You need popularity.
Yeah.
Doctor Who came back in 2005 because we were waiting for it. A huge fan base of original fans were waiting for it. And at that point, I'd say about 95% of us were supporting this new version and willing to give it a go. We were there. We were selling it on behalf of the BBC. We were there. We were buying its merchandise. We were pushing it with family and friends, colleagues, the lot. And it became massive. People actually said, well, okay, I'll have a look at this new version, big budget Doctor Who. That's what we all sold it on, do you remember? And people were watching it. The viewing figures were going from 10 million, and they were going up and down around that mark anyway. It was getting massive figures for Eccleston. We all know what happened when Tennant came along after the wobble of season 2. It did well there, and it sustained anywhere between 7 and 8 million, wasn't it, for the episodes? Apart from the one with Kylie, which went through the roof. Of course it did, because the Kylie fans came to watch her in Doctor Who, and then they probably left for the episode that came after it. But that's fine. That's absolutely fine. This time round, it's not there because fandom has gone. You've got a minority of fandom. I certainly wouldn't be waiting with bated breath for the return of Doctor Who like I did in the Wilderness years. I was convinced, and I knew. I remember having arguments with people. It'll come back and it'll be huge. It'll be fantastic. It'll be massive, because I just knew it. This time around, I'm thinking, no, it'll just die a death. It'll never come back.
I am still very surprised that the BBC are still trying to keep it going even after what's happened, and I know it's all money, but it's interesting because if it had that love in the 80s, we maybe have ran a bit longer. Who knows?
They've never learned though. BBC Enterprises, BBC Worldwide, BBC Studios. It's the same company. They've never learned from their predecessors. That's my opinion as a collector and somebody that's watched it. They've never learned to go, actually, when the VHSs came out, we did this wrong. Yeah. Because then they repeated it with the DVDs. Yeah. And then they've done it now again. They've never learned. Nobody's been there to actually give them consistency of advice all those years. Nobody's been listening. And each team that comes in thinks they know it all. Well, you're making the same mistakes as your predecessors 30 years ago did, quite frankly, because you've not listened and learned. We're Doctor Who fans. We work a different way to your general blogs public, quite frankly. Look around us. We've got everything. We know more about marketing than you do. So don't take the mickey out of us. They keep making the mistakes. But they know, Paul, as we've said, they know they've got something. It was all about money. They thought that bringing Russell back, he was going to make it as big as it was in 2007-8. That was we're going to make lots of money out of this because he knows Doctor Who.
And they've massively miscalculated on that one, haven't they? I mean,
Totally.
They're kind of killing the cash cow by saying to us, "Don't watch it," and then we won't buy the merchandise. We don't like the show. We won't like the merchandise. And as Ian said, a classic, who will be all the way,
Yeah, well, totally. And the fact is, because they've alienated the fan base now, surely somebody, it's a business, surely somebody in BBC Studios must be sitting down occasionally to go, what is going on? What are we doing? Why is this happening? Why are people on YouTube slagging this off? Why are people not buying the merchandise? Why are they not doing this?
But there seemed to be even less merchandise now than there was when Jodie was doing it, and that was doing slightly better than they're doing now, which is incredible.
I know.
We've got here. It,
it's weird, isn't it?
but the three of us wouldn't go out and buy any of their current merchandise for the current series, would we? Because we're not that invested, and we don't care about it. Or I don't want a bloody pink TARDIS enamel badge. Thank you. If I wanted one of those, I would have asked for it in 1988.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Didn't want one then. I don't want one now. Absolutely.
The merchandise these days is puerile and childish, but even puerile children aren't wanting to buy it, and the fan base they aim the program at have said themselves they don't buy the merch. So it's a pointless exercise, isn't it? It's the classic stuff that we want. It's the classic stuff that we'll buy, and the figures show it's the classic stuff that sells. Still.
Talking of classic stuff, has anyone managed to track down a Resurrection set yet from B&M?
No, I looked in yesterday. They started hitting the warehouse this week.
Right.
So they haven't been distributed yet. So it looks like the distribution could be this. I asked my chums at my local B&M, and no, they haven't heard. So they haven't heard anything about it. But apparently, it's hit the warehouse late this week, Thursday or Friday, whenever it was.
Oh, good. Right.
So they should be coming in soon. Garbage is saying to us, I can't wait for Series 2 to air, only for these wonderful live streams and poor Ian, Paul and JT having to endure them and watch the rubbish.
Thanks, Garbage. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Just make a note.
It's our part of public service, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is indeed. What we got? Thank you very much, everybody that is joining us here. It's nice to see you. Stephen Braddock saying garbage. That's sadistic. That reminds me of Tegan. She said that in one story, didn't she? That's a statistic. That's sadistic.
That's the cyber leader, wasn't it? In Earthshock, I think.
Earthshock. Yeah, it was. It really was. Well done, Janet, for delivering that line and delivering it quite well. I remember. Sean Cryer. Hello, Sean. None of it's worth a damn. True, it really is true. Yeah. We are talking about this rumor that Ncuti Gatwa has been fired this week. What do you think about it? Mark Milford, hello to you. Sony owns over 50% of Bad Wolf. They have control over the Bad Wolf board. Sony wanted a Doctor Who film series. This isn't looking good. A Doctor Who film series is never going to happen because it's not popular. It's not popular. And also the BBC have this in-house rule that whomever is playing the Doctor at the time on television should be the star of the movie.
Can you imagine that?
Now, once upon a time, I would have held out with 7 of the original Doctors, 8 actually with Paul McGann, because he would have been able to pull off a film. I would say with those 8 original actors, yes, I would have held off to say, yes, they have to be the Doctor in the film. Now I would say recast, get a bloody actor in, And now that the Doctor has got thousands and millions and trillions and zillions of lives anyway, who cares?
Yeah. That's interesting. I never heard that rumor if Sony wanted to do a film series. That's interesting. That's a new one on me.
Well, again, that was another rumor. That was another. I don't think that was true either, Garbage, with respect, because I think again it was the whole thing at the time. Sony are redoing Spider-Man. They're doing this. They're doing all that sort of stuff that was happening at the time. And I don't think it was true. I think again it was fans coming along saying, "Oh, Sony are big into films, and they could." Do you know what I mean?
I'm still waiting for the last of the Time Lords to turn up. You know what I mean?
Oh, I think you've had it.
It must be due any time soon, though.
I think parts of that script have actually found its way into New Who.
I think they have. Exactly. Yeah.
Oh God. Oh goodness me. Oh, that one I would have loved with Tom. But then we got the book, and there was somebody enforced that particular bit where she turns up. I don't know why. It's Kirsty is saying to us, look, it's a Spider-Man Sony scenario. Exactly, Kirst. It was exactly that. I think people were getting so excited at the time. And Matthew was saying here, Sony wanted Toby Stevens, I hear. Again, there's that. It's just rumor.
I heard that as well, that he was up for it at one point, but I don't know again if that's just more speculation again or not.
You know, Paul, as well. You're never actually really going to know who was up for the role at
Yeah.
this particular point. It might come out in 5, 10, 15 years. I mean,
Well, if you look at the list that was in the TV movie book, it goes on forever. Everyone was,
exactly.
was in there at one point. You know what I mean?
It's
David
their,
Bowie.
it's their job. It's a
Yeah.
casting director's job,
Yeah.
isn't it, to consider every single actor in the land. That's what
and they
do.
did apparently, didn't they? Yes, of all shapes and sorts. Yeah. So.
And don't forget, we know that this wasn't a rumor. There was another actor that nearly got the job, and I think we all know who that could be. And he would
have been great as well. He looked fantastic, I must admit.
Yeah, and if that ever comes out as being true, which I personally believe it was, then I think he just saved his career by Ncuti Gatwa coming in last and stealing the show because he fits the clique as well, part of the clique. Oh, look at him, he's camp and he's all this nonsense and has the same political views. But I think he might have just saved his career because what awful scripts they handed him. Doctor Who as a current TV series is finished. It's in its death throes at the moment, says Domgo. I would agree with that one, Domgo. Absolutely. I can sort of hear the chiming of the bells.
I think rigor mortis is setting, I think, to be honest with you.
They are actually just flogging a dead horse right now, aren't they? Hoping that something's going to happen or hoping that an audience grows from this stuff. I've got a message for them. It ain't going to, mate. All right? It's not going to happen. All right, mate? You might as well go down the market and try selling it down there, pal. All right? Or do you want this old TV show, mate? All right, you won't get anything for it. But try anyway. Oh, look. Joe Japman's joining us. Hello, Joe. I was decorating my son's room with his Who collection. He has banned anything post-Capaldi and is not happy with Tennant anymore. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Yeah. Well, he'll fit in well on this show, Joe, I tell you. Hopefully,
a young man of taste, obviously. There we are.
Clearly.
Pete Venkman is saying to that, I'm not surprised, the poor kid. And Mike Disney saying, Joe, seems like you've brought him up well. Komodo, I can't put you that. That's naughty. Joe's also telling us, I met Eccleston at Film Fest years and years ago. He was an absolute gent. Well, you must have got him on a good day.
Yeah, he can be a grumpy so-and-so, can't he?
Oh, he bloody can. Yeah, oh, he can. He can be. But yeah, I have to say on the couple of occasions I've met him, he's been okay. There was one Friday night where he was a bit sort of... Anyway, but no. And his mates were around him as well, so that would have been a bit different. But there you go.
Was he a bit Proms and List? Was he? I'm just worried about any words we can use on stream. Just checking them.
I better not talk about it anymore. Anyway, he was nice-ish, but I know he was tired. Put it that way. He was tired.
Okay. Yeah.
I've been watching things about time slips recently, says Sean Crown. It makes me wish I could encounter a time slip myself to a time when Doctor Who was worth watching. Well, you stick with us here on Who's Views, because of course we've been doing a lot about reviewing proper Doctor Who, as well as our season review of season 25. You can go and watch that as well. Yes, that'll do. Stick with us, Sean. You know you want to. Douglas Smith is saying to us, if Doctor Who was to be cancelled, I could see them licensing the show out to other studios, like how there's a different Star Trek shows being created by different studios. I can't personally. It's too much for the BBC to manage. It's bad enough that they're dealing with Bad Wolf and Disney. I can't see it. I think they would have to bring it in-house. Like they have done. I think the model they've got, Doug, is actually right. That they have to have it all in-house with an independent production team. Don't forget, BBC Studios is independent as well. So it's a BBC Studios property with Bad Wolf distribution by Disney. So you've got two production companies running it here, and they've still managed to muck it up. But I think the model is right. Keep everything in-house and produce the spin-offs themselves.
I think part of the problem is if it's BBC Studios, Bad Wolf, and let's say Disney, if Disney have an input into the creative side of it, which I think they do, obviously, is especially with the Universal and Fox with the Magan movie, if there's too many cooks, it doesn't work, does it? That's part of the problem.
It's absolutely right. It's that old age saying, isn't it? Of too many cooks spoil the broth. Yeah, and it's true. It's absolutely true. Go on, Ian.
Best will in the world, though, and no disrespect to them, the American organizations, they aren't invested in the history and the legacy of the show. And any Doctor Who that you produce, whilst being original, it has to stay true to that legacy. Yeah. And they don't give two hoots about it. So it's just going to be diluted. And those are the things that impacted on the TV movie, I think. I think Mugan was superb.
Yeah.
But you could see the not, you know, half human mother and all that rubbish that infests American sci-fi. You know, you look at Spock, half human, human mother, and all that kind of thing. The Americans, they can't help it.
No, they
have to
can't.
help it. But
If you watch the 7-year Itch documentary on the TV movie DVD, that is superb. And it took Philip Seagal 7 years to get that together. That was incredible.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And was it worth it at the end of the day for one night? No, in my opinion, it certainly wasn't. I think the BBC should have just listened to somebody like Verity Lambert, God rest her soul, or anybody else that was pitching for it in Britain to do a series. No, but again, it's always been about the dosh. Oh, we've got to make it big in America. We have to make it big in America. Why? It was very popular. It was very healthy as a cult British television show, like all the other television shows from Britain over there. You know, it was doing very well in Australia. It was doing very well in Canada. It was doing everywhere that bought it. It was doing okay, apart from France and Germany, but you can't have it all. But, you know, it's a case of like, you know, you had a hold in there, but they had to be greedy. They have to have it on the same platform as Star Trek. That's never going to happen. Star Trek was born and bred in America. Every American knows Star Trek, like every British person knows Doctor Who. Believe it or not, some British people don't know Star Trek. It works the other way. You know, it's all greed as far as I can say. Oh, it must be big. It must be big. We've got to get it big. Oh, let's get the American dollar in. Let's make it huge. And yet some of those production companies could have gone in with BBC Worldwide in the 90s and done very good, solid science fiction stories that would have taken us through the 90s with some cracking actors that were around at the time, some of whom we've now lost.
Yeah.
See, this is hindsight for you. It just winds me up, guys, that it's the same now. Got to make it big in America. Got to get the American dollar. We've got to do this. Would you just relax? Get over it.
Get the program right first.
Yes. Well, just produce it like it was.
Yeah.
Give it to the sci-fi fans over there and let more come in because it's science fiction. At the moment, if you looked at anybody at all who's a science fiction fan, they would look at that series that they've just produced and what we went through for 2024 and go, no, thank you. Can you imagine the Dune fans watching Doctor Who? No. But had they come across the Pertwee or a Baker, they might have gone, oh, this is entertaining. Might watch this next week.
Yeah.
For example. Do you know what I mean? Rose. Hello, Rose. Rose Kirby's with us, guys. Hey, season 2. What is the episode list? Why not have a poll? What do you think is going to happen? Don't really care, Rose.
More of the same, Rose. Exactly the same.
Yeah.
More singing and dancing and twerking. That's it.
It's same rubbish.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly
that. Same face, sadly. But...
yeah, it's exactly that. We don't know. We don't care. They won't tell us until a couple of weeks before it's coming on air, like they did last time round. We don't know when it's being.
The only thing we know is that it'll be the bestest ever, and the baddest villain ever, and the Doctor will face his biggest dilemma ever.
True. What costume to wear this week? Yeah.
True. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Sean is agreeing with yourself on your points here, Ian, as well. And Shempmeister is with us. Hello, mate. How are you? RTD once said no executive would dare give him notes. Yeah, we reported that here on Headlines, but then says Disney gave him notes and he was happy to incorporate their suggestions. What RTD said, as we reported it here in an interview, was that Doctor Who is basically his and he can do what he likes and no one's going to challenge him. And that's exactly what he's done. And he's going to get worse. He's currently writing Series 3, which hasn't even been commissioned yet. And we just know that the musical episode he wants to do is in it. You know, I can guarantee you that.
When he said that Disney gave him notes, you could tell he wasn't very happy about that, though.
Yeah. Who funds a reboot of a franchise without a show Bible, says Lee Smith? Well, again, British television didn't work that way. We didn't have series Bibles. And when you look at Doctor Who, it's all there on screen for you. The 26 years of superior science fiction, there's the Bible. You may have a script editor in the old days that came in and said, right, for this series, this is going to be the running theme, or this is what the characters are. But we weren't that. British television didn't work like that, did it, guys? And we didn't have a show Bible.
Did we?
No,
we didn't do story arcs or anything like that. I mean, in original Who, we had the Key to Time, and we had probably before that the closest thing we had to a story arc was going from Ark in Space through to Revenge of the Cybermen, where they were traveling with that time ring. You know, it was loosely connected, and that was it.
And in terms of Bible, even writers who wrote the same story or same creation contradicted themselves, like Terry Nation, the Daleks
all
and
the time.
Genesis. It doesn't matter. Really.
They compiled
Yeah.
a Bible for the
Yeah.
TV movie, didn't they?
Oh,
Yeah.
and thank goodness they didn't get to put it into practice because it was
Yeah,
bloody
yeah.
awful.
Was that Greek mythology and all that rubbish? And
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it was also throwing Greek mythology in with Indiana Jones and the Star Trek thing, and exactly what you were saying there. They can't help themselves. The Doctor's
No.
father turns up. I mean, his
Yeah.
mother gets a mention in the blooming TV film.
And the Master was his brother again.
Oh,
Like,
all this
he was
predictable nonsense.
Yeah.
Sorry, Phil, if you're watching, but it was utter nonsense. So there we go. So no, British television never really worked like that. It does now, unfortunately, because we, in my opinion, we have been Americanized too much in our society here in the United Kingdom, as well as everything else. And we have a showrunner now in Doctor Who. Please bring back a producer and script editor. I've always said 2 people that can actually do the proper jobs. But anyway, Rose is asking us, do you think it'd be worth to watch? Should I bother in getting Blue Whale DVD when it comes out? What's Blue Whale? Would that be what's Blue Whale DVD? Do you mean a Blu-ray? Okay, well, do you think it'd be worth watching? No. Do I think our reviews will be worth watching? Yes.
Yeah.
And from that, you can come and make a decision about whether or not you want to watch it. So come and watch us first before you go and watch that. I would say to anybody, don't bother investing in this nonsense. Don't buy the DVD box set. Don't buy the Blu-ray. Go and buy the original stuff and treat yourself to proper stories and proper television without any forced agenda coming down at you. That's what I'd say, Rose. So if you're going to buy something, you've even got the brand new Blake 7 Blu-ray box set announced coming out in America and around the world this very week. It's all announced. Again, a British classic, proper sci-fi. Go and treat yourself to that. Avoid the new stuff. It's awful. There you go. That's my opinion.
yes.
Yes, we'll agree with you on that. Yeah, definitely.
Mike Disney saying, I did love the Dalek films, so perhaps something similar could be done again. Well, the Dalek, as we said before, the Dalek films are not the BBC's copyright. They are with somebody else. They were Canal Studios. They could do anything they wanted to with those versions of the Daleks at any time if they can come into agreement with the Terry Nation estate.
Is that why they keep turning up in Hollywood movies now and again? Is that why?
Yeah, Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
The Warner Brothers link. Yeah. Philip Roy's with us. Thank you, Dalek. Yes. A Marine Boy 1966. Hello. The BBC has hoarded itself out to Disney, and now that Disney has had its wicked way, everything's turned to poo.
Yeah.
Nice to see you, Marine Boy 1966. I was talking about Aquaman earlier on in the show, but nice to see you. Not seen you before, so if you've subscribed to
Disney stopped
channel,
returning the BBC's calls now, haven't they? Yeah.
Exactly. Steve is going back to my point there. We missed out on David Warner as a 1990s Doctor. There were so many actors we missed out on.
Yeah.
One of mine at the time was, and he's now, of course, come to talk about him, gone straight out of my head. I wanted Jeremy Brett, who was known for Sherlock Holmes at the time.
Oh, yeah.
I also wanted, the gentleman that was in House of Cards.
Ian Richardson.
Oh, Ian Richardson. How
Yeah,
could I forget Ian
yeah.
Richardson? He would have been a superb Doctor Who. Superb 1990s Doctor Who, because he could play eccentric, but he also played the other side. And I think if he was given great science fiction scripts, he would have been a gift.
He's superb in House of Cards. That is a great performance. Superb. Absolutely superb.
House of Cards. And then that's something else that they took and sold to America and went off on this thing. I didn't recognize it, but I remember that original book by Michael. I remember meeting him and being thrilled because I've still got it. He signed my book because I was engrossed with that book, House of Cards, and then to play The King, which was the sequel.
Yeah.
The
original TV is directed by Paul Seed, who plays Graf and Decay in Rebus Operation, which is interesting.
It is really, isn't it? Yeah. But he did a cracking job because those two series BBC produced proper telly again. I believe Mrs. Thatcher liked that one as well.
She did, yeah.
And John Major, who came after her, was watching it. But I imagine all the politicians were going, ooh. But that was great. But Ian Richardson, another 1990s Doctor we never had. Such a shame. What else we got here from you all here? Dune fans, says Tim Kins. I will watch Ncuti. Watching Ncuti is the mind killer. There's a name for a Doctor Who episode, The Mind Killer.
No, not the mind killer. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Well done. You got the cue. well done. And Bill Lowry's joining us saying, he's going to twerk. James F. Muck. Nice to see you, James F. Muck. It's like they're trying to incorporate a franchise model from a humble show, which was on at a shoestring budget, into an Americanized spectacle, surface level, that's unrecognizable to its formal self. James, it's not that they're trying to do it. They have. They've gone and done it. Because did you recognize Doctor Who in that series we've just had, or any of the immediate previous ones that I didn't watch? Have you seen it? Because I haven't. Although Paul was saying to me, Paul here, he was saying to me that even the Jodie Whittaker episodes felt more like Doctor Who than what we just had with Ncuti Gatwa.
I'm beginning to feel like that, definitely. Yeah, I don't know if Ian would agree on that, but certainly there's more elements of Doctor Who in that, which I'm really surprised feeling like that, but it seems to be the case.
I would agree that there were certainly scenes in those catastrophic series that were more Doctor Who than anything we've seen with Gatwa, but they were generally scenes that didn't have Whittaker in it as well.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, there you go. Dividing Dragon, hello, DD. RTD can only get worse with time. The second series is already filmed, and without feedback from the first, so things will get worse. This is what I was saying when they told us we were filming back to back. I was saying this, wasn't I, guys? We're saying this is a mistake. This is arrogance to the mightiest level. And how hard are they going to fall now? And Schempmeister is also saying biggest problem with the TV movie Bible is that they felt they had to go too much into the Doctor's backstory. It's like Ian was saying.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's what, no disrespect, that's what Americans think the audience wants. Yeah. How not to know your audience? It's called Doctor Who for a reason. Yeah. We don't know who he is. We're not supposed to know who he is. We don't know that much about him. And Mark is saying, JT is correct as an American. Stop looking to America for inspiration. British media works when it's British. Control the greed and focus on quality. That's how you made a legacy. Exactly. And then they go and mess it up, don't they, Mark? Because they're just wanting ka-ching, 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 as far as I'm concerned. You know? Right. Lee Smith is saying, get Ridley Scott on it.
And he could redesign the Daleks again. That'd be interesting.
Yeah. He knows what Doctor Who is, Ridley Scott. Of course he does. Yeah. He would want to do the big budget version, though, and it wouldn't be nonsensical. It would be hard science fiction.
He's already done Ark in Space already, hasn't he? Allegedly.
Yes, he has. I would think about Ridley Scott because he would really want hard sci-fi for Doctor Who. Yeah. He would want something really... I would think something really serious so that he can try and say, right, would we like it though? I don't know. I've often wondered that, guys, about Ridley Scott. You remember in the 90s, they were all going, "Oh, give it to Ridley Scott," and there was that rumor that his production company at the time had bid for it as well. Do you remember that one? Something along those lines. And I was sitting there going, okay. And then I start to think, like I do, I think, oh, hang on. Yeah, I'm still there. Garbage is saying David Jason. And the reason you're saying David Jason, he could have been another of the 1990s Doctors. He did a wonderful series for years called A Touch of Frost. And his performance in that, yeah, I could see him playing a version of the Doctor. It might have been too like McCoy.
Was he not up for a part in Remembrance? I remember reading that somewhere. He's up for Captain Chunky Gilmore at one point in the 80s, apparently.
Really?
Tom was always saying that. Trying to get him there, wasn't he? Yeah. Nathan Turner was always trying to get David Jason into it for one reason or another.
He was. And to be fair, JNT had a huge track record of getting people you would never have thought would ever appear in Doctor Who to appear in it.
Yeah.
And ones that you would have thought would have been horrific, like Ken Dodd, were actually really good, you know, and even they worked. I can't really immediately think of any of the names that he got that didn't work, to be honest. I mean, maybe Beryl Reid in Earthshock perhaps was a stretch.
I love Beryl Reid in Earthshock.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. She couldn't get Warp Drive. It was some address somewhere.
Turn right at Warp Drive. Oh, and then turn left at the Milky Way there. Fabulous. Hello, Ed Spiel. How are you, mister? I always wanted Charles Dance to play the Doctor. Absolutely. And on my point earlier about Ian Richardson, Steve Hindley's come back to us saying maybe he would have been good, but I couldn't possibly comment.
I think I've said this before, but I recommend Private Schultz from the 80s with Michael Elford, produced by Philip Hinchcliffe. and Ian Richardson's in that, and it's superb. He plays 6 parts, something like that. But
Yeah.
really good. Yeah.
Frank Spencer's with us. Woo! Hello, Frank Spencer. It is so good to see you alive and kicking and being fabulous. I wouldn't mind Morrissey as the Doctor. I'm a big Smiths fan. You won't believe this, but I remember people throwing his name in the ring back in the wilderness years, because there were certain musicians. We had David Bowie. We had
Sting,
Morrissey.
Yeah.
Sting.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Oh, goodness me. That was brilliant, wasn't it? But Julian Rin-Tut as well, so then Spiel.
Yeah, I could see that.
I could see that one, actually. I could see that.
Didn't Neil Tennant from the Pet Shop Boys express interest at one point? I remember him talking about it.
He was talking about that. I think it was a joke, though, to be honest. Yeah,
Right.
I think it was a joke, because I think it had come up about something to do with Doctor Who. I can't remember why. It wasn't an interview. Was it MTV or was it BBC Radio? I can't remember. It's so long ago. And I remember thinking at the time, why are they talking about Doctor Who suddenly? What's going on here?
I think Michael Palin was up for one of the lists in the TV movie one.
There were so many of them, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There were so many names going on here, but that's where we're up to now. And I think this is what this whole point here about the Ncuti Gatwa rumor this week. That was the first rumor we're going to be looking at, but that was the Ncuti Gatwa rumor this week, that he has gone. He's fallen out with RTD. RTD has let him go. There's big drama. It's all rumor. It's all speculation. And what I'm going to say here is, of course, I think it's all nonsense. I don't think it's true. I think it's all rumor. There you go. Sorry. And I think it's more fan wishing than anything else. Yeah. But if the news ever does break, you can count on us here at Headlines to come back on Who's Views and talk all about it. However, if you are one of the few of the Ncuti Gatwa fans that are absolutely devastated about this particular news, then you can get his official calendar to take you through 2025. Ta-ta-ta! Yes, this is available right now in various places that are selling calendars, probably market stalls for 10 pence. So yes, if you want to get your hard-earned dash, and you can do this, you can spend 2025 with various pictures we've seen all before of Ncuti Gatwa. I have to state that this is unofficial, and it's nothing to do with the man himself, but it is out there if you want it.
I don't want it. Thank you very much.
No,
you can keep it. It's fine. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Buy Daryl's one instead.
Well, I was actually going to say there's one calendar that we all do want here on Who's Views. Our friend Daryl Joyce, of course, regular Who viewer here on the channel, as you will know, has his first ever calendar available right now for 2025. You can get this available right now. But as of today, of broadcasting live to you all on Sunday, the 15th of September, you only have 6 days left to order it from his Indiegogo website. Use that funny looking thing there right now to take you to the site. It's £15 all in. 6 days left to get his calendar. And he has actually been teasing it over the last few days, as well as he does this sort of countdown to when the Indiegogo closes down, including this.
I love that one. That's great.
He is
what
such
could this be?
Yeah. I've no idea what it could be, but it looks great.
Even got a Cocoa cup there.
Yeah. He's been counting down, everybody, if you haven't seen on his social media, with the production codes of the original series. So last Sunday, when we came off the air for Headlines, we saw the first one of this coming through. So the three of us are going, what are the production codes? And we've worked out what was coming in. So, you know, we did all that. So this one, of course, is Terror of the Autons.
Terror of the Autons.
Mm.
And then today's was one we knew about already, but I just love it.
That is so good.
That's so nice.
It's quite scary, that, isn't it?
Mm.
This is just Revelation of the Daleks.
That conveys the body horror that Stengos was going through.
Mm.
Yeah, it really does. It's absolutely horrible. But there you go. So well done to Daryl. He's sold quite a lot of these right now. But as I say, you have 6 days left as of today of broadcast live on Sunday, the 15th of September, to order Daryl's fantastic Moments in Time calendar 2025. 6 days, everyone. Not long now. If you've been thinking about it, get it now. If you're going to be telling somebody to get you for a present, get it now. 6 days. Not bad at all. Right, we're going to move on to our next story now, everybody. And we're staying with rumours. Because here he is again. This is David Tennant. Here he is again. we're running over time, everybody, already, but thank you for chatting with us. I hope you can stay with us as we get through this. But yeah, we're on to the David Tennant rumour again this week. Have you seen this one, everybody? This has come from one of my favourite things. This is Pink News. Right, a reminder that David Tennant reportedly stopped J.K. Rowling appearing in Doctor Who. This is published on September the 11th and written by Margus Ratton. So we all knew that at one point Russell T Davies actually approached J.K. Rowling to write a story for Doctor Who. This is when he thought she was wonderful and marvelous and superb and all the usual things he would say, right? So we all know that was happening. So this is very strange that this is all coming out again now, and it is another rumor, and it's just nonsensical. She turned him down, didn't she? Because she was too busy writing something called Harry. Something to do with a wizard or something, some boy wizard or something. No one's ever heard of it. It didn't get anywhere. Anyway, but she was too busy writing that, wasn't she? So she turned him down. Do you remember that time? Do you remember when all that was going on?
Yeah, I'm surprised they're not edited out all the references to her in the Shakespeare Code, to be honest.
I know. But yes, Stephen, he did. He actually invited J.K. Rowling to write for Doctor Who. And she said no. Very pleasant. She was very pleasant about it, but she said no because she was writing Harry Potter. There's a lot of comments coming through here now from you guys about this. I can't read some of them out like this one. Thank you, John. Nice to see you. Good old JK was DT's line in the story. Yeah, that was irony. Look at all this. This is brilliant. Look at them all. Tennant is starting to make my foot itch, says Frank. Joe is saying to us, Tennant's wife melted his brain. Tennant, is that a lager? Yes. It really, really was. Where else we got there? Thank you very much to Lex. Lex has given us a super chat, guys. Thank you, Lex. Mr. Bronson from Grange Hill was going to be the Doctor in the third Doctor Who movie in the 80s and 90s, but never got off the ground. Now, I actually asked him about this. Here I go again. I was lucky, of course, to be around in the 90s when I met a lot of these people. And I said to Michael, are you doing a Doctor Who movie? And he says, I wish, because I know exactly how much I'd charge. So I don't think that's strictly true. I think it's one of those, again, one of those lovely fan humors, as Lee says. We'll have that, Lee. Thank you so much.
Copyright that before Bad Wolf do.
Yeah.
But let's have a look at this latest rumor. Yes, this is the rumor, as I say, that David Tennant reportedly stopped J.K. Rowling appearing in Doctor Who. So here we go with this story. David Tennant fans are remembering that the actor and staunch trans ally is believed to have prevented J.K. Rowling from featuring in a Doctor Who story. As the Harry Potter author makes headlines once again, she recently accused trans Paralympian Valentina Petrillo of being a cheat. Now, at this point, I need to actually say, they mess around with this, saying, oh, he's not, well, this is a quote from them. She's not trans, she's not trans, she's not trans. However, the pink paper is saying it is. So make your minds up before you start attacking people. Is he or isn't he? Because to me, he's a bloke, and a cheating one at that, quite frankly. Heaven's sake. But let's get on with this. Savvy social media users have dug deep into the archives to find supposed proof that Tennant hasn't been a fan of hers for quite some time. This is all nonsense, as you'll know, everybody. But this is where we're at now with these people. They are so desperate for this stuff, aren't they? This is what it comes out. They're desperate. So here we go, continuing with this awful rag. In 2008, the Daily Record reported that 10th Doctor David Tennant apparently scuppered a plan to have Rowling feature in that year's Christmas special set in London in 1851. The newspaper claimed to have seen emails sent by Doctor Who Supremo Russell T Davies, who wanted Rowling to join the sci-fi series in a bid to match the previous festive special, Voyage of the Damned, which had starred Kylie Minogue on board a doomed spaceship called Titanic. Davies had written a part for the next Doctor, which involved Rowling's imagination coming to life, with the Time Lord having to battle through a snow-covered world of wizards and witches. Tennant's reported reason for not wanting the author to appear was that he thought it would have been too much like satire. The Daily Record reported Davies saying he thinks it sounds like a spoof, so we've paused slightly, wondering whether to win him round or just abandon something that he's not going to be happy with. We've got to keep him happy. He keeps us happy. The paper also noted that Davies had once asked Rowling to write an episode of the sci-fi series, but she declined. While the allegedly bin cameo took place 12 years before the Earther first heard her thoughts on the transgender community, not strictly true, Pink Paper, as you know, it was a premonition of sorts, given that she and Tennant certainly do not get along now. I'm sure the two of them wouldn't, but she wouldn't care. In June, Rowling accused the Good Omens star of being part of the gender Taliban. Well, shouldn't have said that. While Tennant, probably, allegedly. Well, Tennant has said he believes transgender people should have the right to be who they want to be, as long as they're not harming anyone. The whole point is that the activism is harming people, you loon. Anyway, Rowling's post on X Twitter came after Tennant criticised then Equalities Minister Kemi Badenoch, God praise Kemi, for her persistent anti-trans comments and policy suggestions. Again, not strictly true. See the truth going here with these bitter, bigoted people. Speaking at the British LGBT Awards, Tennant said Badenoch should shut up and that people who stand against the trans community are a tiny bunch of little whinging, I'm not saying that word, who are on the wrong side of history, adding that they would all go away soon. Wanna bet, Tennant? I ain't going anywhere, mister, I can tell you. Over the past couple of years, Tennant has become one of the most prominent celebrity allies of the transgender community, raising money for charities and speaking out regularly for trans equality. And goodness me, don't we know it? Because he is, of course, part of the TQ cult and terribly misinformed, him and his missus, in my opinion, because they are, of course, supporting a homophobic and misogynistic cult. That's what's going on there. So this is the story from them, from this. You can see how desperate Pink News are here to fill the column inches on this, because this is just nonsense, isn't it? But this, I started looking around for this, and there's a Facebook page, which some of you may be aware of, called Stephen Moffat Fans. Okay, you might be aware of this page. And they jumped on this bandwagon this week to an extent and said at one point during David Tennant's tenure, J.K. Rowling was in serious contention to write a Doctor Who episode. According to Tennant, the plan was for the Doctor to find himself in a world filled with her characters, which he had to fight through to rescue her. Sounds a little bit like the Mind Robber to me. He was personally against this storyline, feeling it sounded too much like a parody and didn't remain true to the spirit of the show. After brief consideration, the idea was ultimately scrapped and Rowling moved on to other projects. So that's from this Facebook page called Stephen Moffat Fans. Now, as usual, there's a war going on now between the two different fan sets here. Those of us based in reality and know what a man is, know what a woman is, and those who understand what homophobia is, and those that don't, basically. So this whole thing. So there's this whole thing which is just attacking J.K. Rowling for her staunch views on what makes a woman, and also protecting LGBT rights. God love her. That's what I say. We need somebody like her out there. But on top of this, Paul, came the fact that there was an allegation here that the story had come through via Gareth Roberts. So I asked Gareth, what do you know about this? And I sent him a little message and said, sent him the Pink Paper article. And this was Gareth said, do you want to say anything for the show tonight? And Gareth said, absolute rubbish, nothing to do with me. That was Russell's idea. So there we have it from Gareth Roberts himself. So this was actually Russell's idea to have this episode there, guys. And Tennant came along and said, oh, this seems a bit silly for Doctor Who. I have to agree with him in a sense. But what do you guys make of this rumour?
Well, I was going to say, from what you described, the content of the episode, I think we dodged a bullet there, don't you think? But that sounded bloody awful.
It does, and I would probably agree with Tennant's view on that at the time. I don't think it's anything, but the way they're trying to dress it up as being he cancelled J.K. Rowling.
It's a battle. It's
complete rubbish, isn't it? It's not. Yeah. He just said, I think this storyline is not in the same way Tom Baker would have done. And they've just listened to him, probably for the right reasons. But it's not a Tennant flexing his stringy bean muscles and cancelling one of the most popular writers in history. It's not that at all. But they're trying to make it out to be that.
They absolutely are.
It's misinterpreted.
Really go. I mean, the amount of nonsense that woman gets on a daily, minute by minute basis. How wonderful is J.K. Rowling, because she just gets on with things. It's now water off a duck's back. I mean, you can't touch her. This woman is on course to be the first billionaire female writer in history. She's that close. People think she's just written Harry Potter. Nonsense. She's done a wonderful children's book a couple of years ago called The Christmas Pig. I'd recommend it. It came out in paperback last year. So it must be, 3 years old this year. It's going to a film. It's going to be a little animation. It's a classic Christmas story for kids. It's beautiful. It's a lovely, wholesome little book about this pig who loves Christmas. It's fabulous. I really enjoyed it. And of course, she's got one of my other favorites, the Strike novels, which is set in my London of the late 90s, early 2000s. I recognize everything she's talking about in those books in and around London because I was hanging around Soho for various reasons in those days as well. So, it's absolutely fantastic. She's made money from them. They are always at the top of the world's bestseller list. Her next one is due out, I think, after Christmas. It better be, Ms. Rowling, because
so these the Robert Galbraith books that you read.
Robert Galbraith, yes.
Because I saw a bit recently. They're making a TV version apparently of some.
Well, they have done already.
I've seen some of those.
Right.
They are fabulous. I mean, the hack to hell, everybody, because they have to be, because the books are like the Harry Potter books. You remember they got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. But Kirsty will know what I mean. So have the Strike books. The next one is called the next movie is the version of the Ink Black Heart cracking story. The one after that is a really scary one because it deals with a cult. Strangely, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. I pick up her books and I'm gripped, guys. I can't put them down. I'm late for everything. Because I'm just like, and I start at 9 o'clock at night. The next thing I know, it's 2:45 in the morning. She's so good at writing. But you're right, Ian. To get back to this point, sorry, because I'm blabbering now, everybody. But this whole point is what they've tried to do again is make this into a war. And I think you're absolutely right. I think this was a case of Russell T Davies back in 2007, 2008 going, we've just had Kylie. Let's do something else for Christmas. Oh, it's got to be big. It's got to be special. It's got to have tinsel. Oh, my God, we've got to have baubles everywhere. Let's have J.K. Rowling and no. It sounds like the mind robber. And I think that must have been in his head somewhere to say, let's throw the Doctor in the land of fiction. And it's all about J.K. Rowling. Because that at the time would have been massive. Because you would have brought in all the children and all the families and all the Harry Potter fans.
It'll be interesting to see, won't it? Now, we have this new government now, don't we, for want of a better term, that's usable on the tube of who. So I'll be very careful. And they're taking this, they're very much wedded to the TQI cult side of things. But at the same time, they're taking this stand, aren't they, against misogyny and turning it into a crime. And I'm just interested to see if they apply that across the board, if certain areas of society will get a pass, and if they will ignore all the crap that J.K. Rowling gets, because I bet they will. Will.
Yeah,
this annoys me all the time about people like Tennant and Schempmeister. You know where I'm coming from as well. The Pink News headline has nothing to do with her trans views, which have not been aired at the time. No, of course, so they shoehorn it in and bring in this thing about it. But to be honest, her views when it comes to this issue are valid because she's a feminist. She knows. Yeah. All she's saying is basic common sense. A woman is a woman, and you can't change your biology. That's all she's saying. She's never said anything derogatory about the trans community. So she's never said, they shouldn't have rights, as some of them are saying. No, and she's a staunch defender of homosexual affairs as well. So she understands what the likes of Stonewall was saying to people like me. Oh, you've got to include trans men in your dating pools. You know what they're saying there. No, because that's heterosexuality. Thank you very much. And that doesn't turn me on at all, you idiots. What's that about? But also, why is David Tennant always given a free pass? It's only shows like ours that will turn around and question him, and say, hang on a minute, how come he is protected by show business and she's absolutely, hounded and harassed? And I mean, they can't touch her. That's what annoys them. They can't touch her.
For asking a question, you will be labelled as an istinophobe and not.
Yeah.
Sorry, Paul.
No, I was going to say, I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to accuse Tennant a little bit of he stopped her being involved in some way as well. And he hadn't jumped on the particular bandwagon he's on now at that point, was he really? So it's all kind of misinformed from both sides of the argument, isn't it, to be honest?
I suppose to an extent it is, but this rumor has been hacked. Again, it's coming to fandom, and these people are coming. I mean, the amount of I saw on that Facebook page, I cannot stand, and I did comment on these as well. I cannot stand people that won't research anymore. They just jump on a blooming bandwagon. I hate that. How lazy is that? Oh, I've seen that. I want to be seen as a nice person. I want to be the one that's out here. Tennant himself said, anybody that disagrees with is on the wrong side of history. Get a bloody grip. We've done the research. We know the truth. Don't just jump on a bandwagon. They've lost the art of actually doing that now because they want to be seen as the right person. It's so selfish. It really is selfish. Tim Kins is saying, as reported by the Pink News, who have been writing psychotic attacks on JKR for years now. That's all you need to know. We've covered them before on this show as well, haven't we, guys? Because they get on my absolute wick. I cannot stand these people. And yet years and years ago, I would read the Pink paper because it would be in the gay bars and clubs, and you would pick it up at the weekend and you would read the news about what the government of the day was doing to you. And you have to bear in mind as well, different world, because we were fighting for rights. We did not have same-sex rights until actually the whole thing came to a head and finished off around about 2003, 2004 in the United Kingdom, you know, with same-sex marriage. That was the last thing. So all through the 90s, we were fighting for stuff all the time. So the Pink paper was one of those papers that you got to hear what was happening with politicians, with the government, what they were saying to you, what was happening, where the next pride rally would be, you know, all this sort of stuff. Now it's all about fluff. It's all about T the Q, who's against this, who's T rights. They have them already. Shock horror, you know, put that on a headline. Can you imagine that on their front page? Oh, TW and TMs discover we have rights already. Shocking headline. But, you know, it's a real case of nonsense. And here what they're doing is they've made Tennant into some sort of, again, cult idol. He can't do anything wrong when he actually is every single day. What's this from Matthew? I guess Michael Sheen and David are avoiding Neil's phone calls. Oh, so this is the thing that the other one, Neil Gaiman apparently is being cancelled now, isn't he, for saying things? Yeah. Didn't he agree with JK on a couple of things as well, Matthew? Again, Rick Storm, Tennant didn't like JK and starred in one of her movies. Yes, he was in the Goblet of Fire, wasn't he? Of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. But this is
morals don't stretch as far as turning down the payday.
Well, exactly. And that was quite early on in his career as well, wasn't it? So,
this was years ago. This was all before this nonsense appeared. So
should he not then take a moral stand and say, please cut my scenes out of your films?
Well, we don't need to because we're getting a brand new series.
Daniel Radcliffe's not done that, has he?
No, exactly. Very good point. Very good. And I can't wait to see them all recast and forgotten.
Yeah.
Over 10 years of this brand new series that's coming out here. Yeah, I mean, again, it was just this case. But when you look at that Facebook page and you see the vitriol that's coming out here, I can't stand this though, because these youngsters especially have, as I say, they have just jumped on the bandwagon. They haven't actually gone to look at the original tweet that set this all off, that she put out there, supporting a woman who had been fired for her job here in the UK for saying a woman was a woman. And they haven't looked at the tweet that J.K. Rowling came back, which was along the lines of love who you want to love, dress the way you want to love. And then she went on to say, that's all fine, but don't take away women's rights. And I'm paraphrasing, I'm getting it wrong because I can't remember it off the top of my head. And that's where they all went, oh, you're a no. That's what started it. And yet it was common sense. It was pure common sense. But everyone, including RTD and Tennant, jumped on the bandwagon here. And this article from the Pink News and this thing that went on here, utter nonsense, guys. I can't believe it. Another rumor that's shown you what fandom and Doctor Who fandom could be like.
Yeah.
Quite toxic at times.
Yeah. And these are all the people that's the Be Kind Brigade.
Yeah.
It's
They're
ironic.
just a massive gang of hypocrites, aren't they? They always have been. They always have been.
Yeah.
Big bunch of wet blankets, but they're hypocrites as well.
But it will be interesting when the tide does turn and then Tennant realizes he's in the wrong position, allegedly. That's what's going to be tough.
I don't think he
realizes that he's on the wrong side of history.
Basically, yeah.
Don't forget that he said in that thing that he had skin in the game. Now, this is because everything's alleged, but this is because apparently his son has come out as non-binary, which he isn't. He isn't. Yeah. And in my eyes, David Tennant and the other and his good lady are guilty there of lying to their child by saying you can be either gender. No, you can't. You've either got a penis or a vagina. Tell them the truth. That's good parenting in my eyes, quite frankly. Not going down a path because, oh, we've got to be seen to be this and this. Again, it's selfish. Again, why would you lie to a child and say, yes, you're non-binary? Why would you say, no, you're not. You're a human being. You've got a penis or a vagina. You're a male or a female. Sexuality is totally different. I fear for some of these adults for saying things like this to these kids. You know, it's just ridiculous. Do you not think?
It is crazy.
Yeah.
And it's happening all over. We've got here from Komodo, years of hair gel abuse has poisoned Tennant's brain. And DD is saying, I tend to feel the fans here and in general dislike identity politics. The fans that do support agenda-driven stories is just a small splinter group.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is a minority, but it's the minority they're trying to feed, isn't it, really? And they're trying to say that the whole show should revolve around them and be on the side of them. It's as though they're frightened of these people. Now, when it comes to RTD, we know that he actually believes all this nonsense himself. And we pointed that out last week, the week before, several other shows. I just think it's absolutely nonsensical. I really do. But this was another rumor that was there. Mark, hello to Mark. He's joining us as well. I'm done with Weasel Face. And Retro Alarm is joining us. Hello, Retro Alarm. Welcome to Who's Views. What are you saying to us? A bit late for this comment, but would you prefer David Burton, if he's still alive, as the next Doctor? No, met him once.
He'd still be driving that car around, wouldn't he?
Yes, wouldn't he? The Doctor Who car, yeah.
Glenn, aren't people allowed to have their own opinions? Isn't David Tennant being a bully saying you will agree or else? Well, they all do, because they're part of this massive, well, not massive, but they're part of this poisonous cult that's going on. And it's all down to the fact is I've now come down to the fact that what they're trying to say is, and we've seen this, they're always going on about T rights are human rights, when actually they have the same rights in the United Kingdom. And I can't comment for the rest of the world, but in the United Kingdom, we all have the same rights. That's why we're a democracy, just still. We are a democracy. We all have the same rights. But what they want is they want to enforce us to say that TWs are women and TMs are men. That's what's missing from them. That's the right they're going for. That's not a right. It's a delusion. That's not a right. It's up to us as an individual whether we go along with that or not. And you can't, in my size, if I decide to call a TW he, that's my prerogative, because that's the basic truth.
But if they want compelled speech, which is a big Labour thing, then
yes,
that's actually oppression, isn't it? So they want to impose oppression, which isn't then about rights. It's about taking rights away.
Yeah.
But it's about taking rights away from people that aren't like them. So they want equality when in actual fact, they don't want equality. They want to take rights away from people and oppress people.
Yes, exactly.
I personally find them a bit of a cancer, to be quite honest.
They don't understand the irony and the hypocrisy of them all, because they're all going on about being kind and rights and stuff like that. And yet all they want is compelled speech and dictatorial aspects. And they don't see how ridiculous they are being and how hypocritical they are. Do you know what I'm saying? But I mean, look at RTD, constantly changing his tune. You know, he's got banging on about this, banging on about this, banging on about this. And the next thing he's hand in hand having a laugh with Helena Bonham Carter, who is a huge J.K. Rowling supporter and a huge women's rights supporter.
He's just a hypocrite, though, isn't he? Just like Tennant. Tennant proved himself with that Badnock comment. He proved himself that he is an arch hater of women in that respect. You know, he doesn't want, he's a misogynist is the word I was looking for. Hater of women, a bit harsh, but he proved himself to be an arch misogynist. Completely.
Well, he did in that speech, didn't he? And it was just ridiculous what he said there. We covered that on the previous headlines as well. But here it comes out again now because of these people actually at Pink News, desperate for some sort of way to get at J.K. Rowling again. Now, it's been proven as well, just to let you know, that the Pink News, who used to be, as I sort of alluded to there, used to be a really reliable LGB newspaper back in the day, and is now well overdue its date. Get rid of it, because you don't represent my community at all. And you're all based in this TQ cult, and you're all hypocrites in there as well, with all your non-binary stuff. Oh, give us a break. But it's all this nonsense about that. They have reported more on J.K. Rowling in the last year than anything else going on. So this, for me, was another example of basically saying, how else can we get a J.K. Rowling this week? How do we mention it? But unfortunately, some people don't realize that, and then they take it onto Doctor Who platforms and start talking about it. You know, it's just nonsense. I just don't get it. And then they mix the whole thing about this. I mean, this is a story that's years and years old, and it's not Doctor Who fans that have brought this up. It's blooming them, and then they blame Doctor Who fans.
It's craziness.
I think they're fighting a losing battle though, because JK is going nowhere. So,
and she's getting stronger and stronger and stronger every day.
She is in a very enviable position, isn't it? Isn't she? That she can say what she feels. She's very, very clever. So she's able to phrase it in a term that she knows can't be classed as being illegal hate speech or anything like that.
Yeah.
But if somebody has a go at her, she's got the financial clout to really, really, really be able to punch back at a level way harder than the ones that are having a go at her.
Yeah. She has done an awful lot already because people have threatened to sue her and what have you. She's got one of the most powerful, amazing legal forces in the world. Try it. Try it. Because there's not a court in the land that, in fact, we had a court throwing a case out before it even got there because they actually went, no. And didn't even get there. There's not a court in the land or even the world, I reckon, that would dare to that, because what she's saying is common sense, it's truth, and it's factual. There's a one for you here from Tyler Durden Smile. Nice to see you, mate. Dwayne Johnson of Romana.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? If we're going down that silly route, why not?
Well, we've gone down that route with this blooming show, haven't we? And Timkins is saying, have I missed the panel mentioning Neil Gaiman's issues? Are they aware he's not just been cancelled? There's a future news story. What would the fallout will be and whether the Doctor's wife will be removed? It's something I am keeping an eye on because it's very interesting at the moment what's happening with that, isn't it? Yes. Yeah. Well, if it comes into Doctor Who world more, then yeah, we'll have a look at that. At the moment, it's just something we've got to keep an eye on, I think. And Enspiel is saying to us, wait until his son later comes out as gay. How will he accept the TQI cult would likely cancel him? That's a very good point. If this young man decides eventually it's not the body that's in question, but the sexuality, and then comes out as gay, what will Tennant do? What would any parent who's following this non-binary trans nonsense, because they're so desperate to be inclusive and be the right sort of parent? That's all it is. I actually genuinely believe everybody's coming from a really good place, but they're so misinformed. They are so given the wrong information that they're going down the wrong route with this. And I think with children, it's very dangerous because you know what? You can't get it back. Once you start lopping bits off, you are gone. That's it. It's such a shame. And they've got to give the children the chance to grow up. They really do. What are you going to say, Paul?
I was just muting the sound of it. I think my dog's going to go for a minute. The door's going to go, so I'm going to move my dogs for a second. Excuse me.
Okay. Cute Pyro Zero. Yep, you're right, JT. Trans have all the rights needed, but they want to control, which is an issue. They're the activists for you, isn't it? Not as you all know, they're the activists. I know a lot. Some trans people who are sick and tired of these activists, and just say, I want nothing to do with them, because trans people just want to get on with their life. The majority of them, you know, they don't want all this nonsense.
Yeah, like I mentioned before about the review that they're having of the last census. I mean, altogether, it is less than 0.3% of the population. And yet you would think when you look at the media and everywhere else, it's 50% plus. You know, it seems to control every damn narrative for every damn subject that there is. It's always, you know, you just look at Pride isn't about LGBT anymore, is it? It's all about TQI and a real freak show. Yeah, and you see the flags all up and everywhere, and it's like a parade in, and I'm not going to go there, but I'm just going to say the place and the time. It's like a parade in Berlin in 1938. Yeah. It's not a sign of good things coming.
Well, it certainly doesn't represent me, Ian. I can tell you that.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I don't see any reflection of any gay friends that I have. I don't see any reflection of them in anything that I see in Pride at all.
No. Well, it's nothing to do with us anymore. It's nothing to do with same-sex people, but there are so many deluded people. I'll tell you what Pride is about to me now, and I've seen this coming in the last 20 years. I've seen this come in more. The political messages were put aside because that's what Pride was always about. And now it's about sex, drugs, and rock and roll, quite frankly. That's all it's about. And now it's become about the TQ cult issue as well. That's what's going on, as far as I'm concerned. We did show some pictures of Manchester Pride in the previous headlines as well, which Russell T Davies was at and gave some sort of rant to. You can go back and look at that here on the channel as well. And thank you, Mark, for your super chat. Mark Milford saying, my father gave me my pronouns when I was 5. They were damn it and what in the hell. Exactly, absolutely. There was loads of that going on when we were kids, wasn't there? YW2324 is with us. Nice to see you. And so is Russ Morgan, who's saying that we need to start controlling the narrative. The problem with that is that we've got that whole sort of Doctor Who message there about we become what they are, and it's about democracy. You know, it really has. It's just we've all got to agree to disagree, but there has to be a mature conversation about women's rights and LGBT rights here, because you know, you cannot have males, as has been proven this week as well with the Edinburgh rape crisis nonsense that's going on, the Edinburgh Rape Crisis Centre, and what's going on with them. That's very concerning. That's very, very concerning. You can go and research all that there as well if you need to. I don't really want to go down that one, but it was just ridiculous. Cute Pyro was saying to us, pride has always made my skin crawl. And Lee Smith, I saw billboards on train stations. Yes, and it's hugely offensive. I've seen these things as well. Everywhere I go now, it's about LGBTQI. It's offensive, and it makes me feel, I get really quite tense about this, because I think, okay, why are you forgetting about LGB? Why is it everything right of the B is heterosexuality? It's nothing to do with us. And they don't get it. They are actually erasing not just women, but they're erasing lesbians and gay men as well. It's I can't understand how we've got to where we are, guys. I really can't. It's shocking after everything we did. But yeah, as John's saying, this is what worries me. We've got 4 more years of this. The chat's moving quickly. 4 more years of this. Absolutely. You know, and it's in Doctor Who.
It does seem like it's starting to come apart at the seams a little bit already. Which could lead, you know, with the things that are coming out already. It does seem.
Well, we'll soon see.
Already.
Well, seriously, from my point of view, I don't see anything going, because I'm more embroiled than you guys are. So I hope you're right, but I see more of the community being divided. I see more of this nonsense coming up, as we've had with this David Tennant, oh, I stopped J.K. Rowling type thing. The praise heaped on David Tennant. He's suddenly become another hero again this week for this, because people will read that and think, oh, isn't he wonderful? Isn't he marvelous? And they're not Doctor Who fans. They won't realize that it's a pile of nonsense. They really, really won't. And yeah, well done to the Pink News for scaremongering again and telling nonsense and making it look like he's some sort of hero. Oh, goodness me. Here we go again. How are you all, everybody? Thank you for joining us here on Who's Views. This is your headlines, of course. It is Sunday, the 15th of September. It's 2024. And it's very spicy tonight, isn't it? You're very welcome. It's always like this on this particular show. We are here, of course, on Headlines. This is our particular show. And we've got another one coming for you now, and based around previous showrunner Stephen Moffat. This is this particular one, which comes from The Hollywood Reporter. Stephen Moffat on Doctor Who bosses being chief Satan of the nation and how not to adapt British series for the US. At a TIFF appearance, he also discusses differences between the UK and US TV systems, why Sherlock Holmes is least qualified to solve crimes, and how comedy is all about breaking rules. Okay, so I'll explain just now that TIFF is the Toronto International Film Festival. My goodness, these people get around all these swish parties, don't they? The Toronto International Film Festival. Let's get into this particular story. So we've got the headline there. From September the 6th, here we go. Screenwriter and executive producer Stephen Moffat had much insight to share about his work on Sherlock, Doctor Who, and beyond, as well as his frustrations with elements of the entertainment industry during an appearance in Toronto on Friday. The creative appeared during a visionary session at the industry conference section of the 2024 TIFF, where he was interviewed by THR's, The Hollywood Reporter's European Bureau Chief Scott Roxburgh, about such topics as how to reimagine known and beloved characters, how not to adapt British series for the US, and the challenges of window and release strategies in the digital age. Moffat drew laughs throughout the session. That was also the case when he explained the brilliance of Doctor Who and its format. I bet it was. You think it's that cheesy old BBC adventure series, he said. Actually, it is the single smartest television format ever devised. By that, I mean you can sack anyone. If anyone pisses you off, you can just get rid of them and regenerate a new Doctor played by a new star. Not wrong, really. I think this is unique to Doctor Who. It's a star vehicle every single time, he continued. But you can switch out the star. Where else can you do that? I'm sorry, all the Doctors, if you're listening, we love you all. My main aim there is don't think like that. Cast the right person to begin with.
Yep.
The story continues. Questioned about what kind of content he grew up on and enjoyed as a kid, Moffat quipped that he hasn't evolved much in his taste over time. I just love Doctor Who, he said. I also was obsessed with the Sherlock Holmes stories and read them in order. And he shared that Basil Rathbone was his favourite on-screen Holmes. One insight from knowing and working with various Doctor Who actors shared by Moffat that had the audience in stitches was this. Everyone who has ever played Doctor Who thinks they're the real one. He also quipped there are a lot of crazy problems. I think in the David Tennant family circle because his father is Peter Davison, and I don't think either of them thinks the other one's a proper Doctor. He added that he recently watched a 2007 episode called Time Crash, which starred Tennant as the Doctor with Davison returning as well. Asked where NBC's US reboot of his UK hit show Coupling went wrong, Moffat said that someone must have thought that the poster for the show looked similar to that for Friends, and therefore thought it was more or less the same show. When you're comparing a massive mainstream brilliant NBC hit to a BBC Two sitcom from Britain, they're not the same thing, he concluded. If you try to remake Coupling on the assumption it's exactly like Friends, you're going to end up with the wrong show. Was he ever tempted to move to the US because of that experience? Moffat said that he has more to do with lifestyle issues. I like living in London. I like to visit and wouldn't want to live anywhere else, live elsewhere, he explained. But he also acknowledged about the Coupling experience. Did it burn me? Well, it didn't make me enthusiastic. But Moffat isn't down on the US TV production system. The American system works brilliantly. There's no question about that. It does amazing, amazing television, Moffat said. I've never fitted that comfortably into it. He and producer wife Sue were struggling with one part of the way TV works in the US. One thing that frustrated Sue and I a little when we were involved is that was you talk about more money. We were gritting our teeth and saying, stop spending so much. You don't need to, he shared. The more money you spend making the show, the more likely you are to disappear. If you can be an economically viable modest hit or modest success, you'll survive. If you're just throwing money saying, oh, never mind, we'll fix it in post, well, it costs money to fix it in post. So sometimes being able to make economic shows is not a bad skill. In comparison, I do think the British system is very nice and kind and decent and reasonable, Moffat said. But then I'm saying that from the perspective of someone who's done very well in it and who's probably now treated a little bit more nicely than some other people, partly because I'm done well and partly because I'm old. Moffat still believes that reboots of established characters can work well if approached the right way. If you are even slightly cynical about rebooting, it goes wrong, he shared. The key thing is, don't go near it unless you love it, unless you are desperate to see this version. He then explained that he likes to concentrate on bringing out elements or dimensions of a character that haven't been in focus before. Demonstrate your knowledge of the character, but never your reverence, Moffat explained his approach. You always have to do something outrageous, and he added that passion is a key driver. Continuing, he said, Moffat even offered that most shows are derivates of past content. Every detective story is a reboot of Sherlock Holmes, including Hercule Poirot, he told the TIFF audience. It's basically a Sherlock Holmes fan fiction. Ooh, controversial there, Mr. Moffat. Moffat does not believe in the argument that in an age of political correctness, comedy can't be successfully conceived. You make comedy by breaking rules, right? So the more rules there are, the better, he explained. Was he ever cancelled? He recalled that when he worked on Doctor Who, there was much hatred from fans directed at him. The level of hate you could get down 3 passenger jets. I mean, seriously, it doesn't stop, he shared. I was vilified endlessly. I was a homophobe, misandrist, and a misanthrope, and a sexist, and a misogynist, and a racist. I was against so many people, I could only be described as an omni-bigot, which I would suggest means I'm treating everybody equally. Moffat concluded by joking that any Doctor Who showrunner is taking on the role of Chief Satan of the nation. Well, it's not just showrunners that have the problems that we as fans have, eh?
I think it's interesting. I wonder if Russell T Davies has read this article, because what he says in that makes a lot of sense. Don't change the program to fit your narrative, basically. Yeah.
Yep. What do you think, Ian?
I think pretty much what Paul's just said there is absolutely bang on the money. I think Russell T Davies would be very uncomfortable reading that, very uncomfortable, because I had issues with Moffat's era the longer it went on.
Yeah, so did I. Yeah,
but I think what he says there is pretty much on the money, really. I still don't like him anymore though, and I thought his last episode was rubbish.
Yeah, Legion of James is saying to us here, well, read into that interview what you will. It's interesting. It is, because he's actually coming out with some stuff there where I'm actually thinking you've got a point. Timkins is like us, saying, actually, I mean, a lot of what he's saying here is reasonable. It is. I wish Moffat was running it now, says Atherstone 55. Sean is also saying, I wish Moffat would disappear and take Davis with him. I think that's the problem. I think the fact is the two of them had their chance. One of them stayed far too long. One of them stayed, I think, about the right time, because I don't know about you guys, but I was getting fed up with RTD around about that time he was going, was looking forward to Moffat. And I'm like you, Ian, the longer he stayed, the more I'm thinking, I'll just go. But they gave it to another fan. This is the problem now with the way that Doctor Who's run. It's given to their little next door neighbor type thing, you know, the guy that they fucked up.
Mates. They're all mates. They're all metaphorically in bed together, and it just doesn't work. You know, if Doctor Who, for example, is rested, I don't know, 5 years, and personally I think it needs to be longer than that. But if Doctor Who was rested for 5 years and brought back, nobody that has ever been involved in any of it since its 2005 reboot should be involved in bringing it back. Nobody that's written for it, nobody that's produced for it behind the camera, nobody should be involved in bringing it back. It needs to be a complete fresh take on it, preferably not from a fan.
I would agree. I would prefer to have industry professionals that understand television as it is, that bit, and also understand Doctor Who. But the problem is now, I think what we've created is the fact that you're always going to have some sort of fan there. But what they've got to understand is these fans have alienated fans.
Yeah.
And they've done it deliberately. In the case of what's his name, Chibnall and RTD, especially, they've gone out of their way to annoy the fans, because you know their stories weren't and aren't attracting a new audience like they insist that they are. The show was almost brought off the air because of that with Chibnall. So again, they're living in this sort of echo chamber, aren't they? Which is just nonsense. They're all believing their own ridiculousness.
They think if they're infuriating or getting the ire of the fans, I think they think that should be interpreted as being radical, and it isn't. It isn't. It's just being an arse, really, and abusing the position. YW2324 would agree with you. We need all new people running the show. No offense to Moffat, it just needs a clean slate. Yeah.
But fortunately, I don't think we're going to get that. Divine Dragon saying to us how RTD would dislike the perspective Moffat brings, and yet they're very good friends. You would think they would talk about this, wouldn't you? Or maybe they do. We just don't. Or maybe he's not listening. I don't know. Peter Venkman saying this turns out to be true for RTD. Chalk and cheese here, isn't there? There's two different styles here.
It's also very interesting. I said this earlier before we came on air, that it's interesting that he feels that he's been, you know, fans were criticising what he did. Both him and Chibnall did the same thing to GNT in the 80s. You know, they were criticising what he was doing, blah blah blah. And I wonder how that now feels. You have to, you know, consider what you've done in the past as well, because you've changed things that people don't like. You know.
Well, exactly. Timescale saying what shocks me is to see Doctor Who creatives that bully their own fans on social media. Exactly. Never do that to your audience. You think you know that by now. And Dalek, I agree with you, Paul. It's a bit hypocritical to say the least.
Yeah.
Stephen Braddock saying to us that's actually an article that made some sense, but I'm still not a fan though. And Charlie Silvestri's joined us. Hello, Charlie. Moffat destroyed Who the moment Missy appeared. There's no apologies here. That's just the case. I'm going to agree with you. I remember that moment on that Saturday night when that was broadcast, and I went, "Oh no, here we go. We know what's coming now."
Yeah.
Just absolutely awful. I probably can't read this out, but I do have a sense of humor, so I'm going to put it on the screen.
I'm glad you have
and-
a sense of humour, JT.
Oh, I do. You know, I'm British. I can take all that. And Timkins is saying people attacking Moffat did get insane. And the same people who tried to say he was a misogynist then were the ones cheering RTD, wrote Rose claiming the same womanhood as his mum. Okay. I mean, there was an awful lot around Moffat at the time, but that's because he's outstayed his welcome. How many years did he do? Was it 50?
Something like that, yeah.
Well,
It was
definitely.
2010 to 2017, yeah, about 7 years, 8 years, something like that.
Yeah, it was a long time. I reckon you should do Doctor Who for 3, maybe 4, and get out. You know, as a producer, as a show, or
It didn't
whatever.
help that he split series with Matt Smith, didn't he? So it really that dragged out. But he just tried to be too damn clever.
Well,
When it didn't want to be clever, it just wanted to be good.
Don't forget that split series lost us a Matt Smith season.
Yeah.
Because it was broadcast over 2 years, 7A, 7B. It was one series split over 2 years in an anniversary year as well. So it lost us another 13 episode Matt Smith series. And I know at the time, well, I don't know, allegedly at the time, let's make that clear, I heard he wasn't happy about that, hence the decision to go.
Yeah.
And I don't blame him because you're suddenly unemployed for a year. However, Matt Smith being Matt Smith managed to get other work. That's all what I heard, everybody. I want to stress that out. So that was allegedly. That's all alleged. That's what I heard. One of the reasons he wanted to go was because he'd been messed around. All alleged. How weird is that? What else we got here? Doctor Who should be epic sci-fi, says Lee. Yeah. And yet, strangely, it was, in my eyes, the original stuff was epic. And it was science fiction. And it always went that extra mile to do something a bit different.
It could be epic sci-fi, but then next it could be something in a village.
Yeah.
And then it could be something else. Again, you know, it could be on an oil rig, or it could be in a pub.
I still think that's
Star Wars
epic
every
sci-fi.
week. That's the thing,
Yeah.
is it? You know,
I still think that's epic sci-fi because it was still science fiction. You still had your monsters in it. You had the science fiction theme of it. You know, you had the invasion principle of it, or experimental.
Completely. I completely agree with you. But I think if you look at that wonderful story, The Demons, you know, it is sci-fi. They were aliens. There was a tiny spaceship, but it was more sort of like occult/horror, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But then you could go off and you could have Frontier in Space and Planet of the Daleks, epic sci-fi. You could have one to the other, to the other, to the other, and Doctor Who was able to do that, and now it just sticks solidly in crap.
Yeah. Hi to the Macronon who's joining us. It's nice to see you. Hope you're all right. And Timescales is saying Doctor Who cannot be epic sci-fi when it is a small exclusionary club of creatives. That's a good point because they're all going to come at it from the same point of view, aren't they? As we're now seeing, it's now being proven all the time. Charlie is saying to us, it still could be saved. Every wrong turn, whether it be gender swaps, timeless child, etc., all can be written away without too much effort. You need character, plot, story, and don't change the entire history. The problem with that is that they didn't. They've had the chance to do it now. It could still happen, Charlie. You could be right. The problem is there's no audience for it now. I'm going to keep on banging on about this. If you're outside the UK, you do not realize just how low Doctor Who has sunk in the UK. It is not the big show that the BBC want you to think it is anymore. It's gone. It's gone. People don't care. It's hanging by a thread, this show. It really, really is. I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. I am absolutely sure that the overnight ratings for this absolute nonsense for Series 2 next year will get below 1 million. And that's what
for every viewer that was watching Gatwa's first season, there was 6 or 7, possibly more, watching Eccleston's. You know, if we look at it like that, that's how much the ratings have sunk. There was easily 6 or 7 to every one, and that is shocking, really.
Absolutely. It really is.
Cancellation stuff.
How to alienate your public within 4 years? Refer to Doctor Who.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that, and that should be taught now in television studies or whatever they call it now.
How to cancel a franchise. Yeah, that's it.
Gerald Ratner, isn't it? It's a television version of that.
It really, really is. It absolutely is. Legion of James, I'll never understand this new approach of pushing away the existing fans when you think they'd know it's happy existing fan bases that bring in more new fans with their love and enthusiasm. Well, it's definitely a trend in show business, wasn't it? They got rid of all of us. We talked about it a couple of times on this show, but all the franchises, all these things that apparently, I reckon, from what I've seen from all these executives that have come in, it was too white male orientated, and they had to bring all the DEI in. How condescending. Because they obviously didn't bother to look at us all. Science fiction, the community for science fiction, whether it be Doctor Who, Star Trek, Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica, Space 1999, Sapphire and Steel, whatever it was going to be, welcomed everyone. And we as science fiction fans, we mixed with everyone. That's how we rolled, because we were fans brought together by these amazing, fantastical stories that, got to our imaginations and brought us together. We were probably more united than the rest of the planet. Let's face it, as science fiction fans, because we didn't care. We didn't care what color we were, what religion you were, what sexuality you were. And they seemed to think we did. We didn't care. We just got together and talked about our favorite shows and had good, healthy discussions like we do on this program, I hope. And that was it. And yet they came in with all their DEI going, it's too white, it's too this, we need more of this, we need this, we need more representation, blah, 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 blah. Absolute shambles. How dare they? And yet they have, and now look at us. We're a mess. And we're more divided than we've ever been in history. Nathan Huggins is saying to us, you must be a fan. You need passion to create anything. It needs two people in charge to bounce ideas. Interesting idea, Nathan, but I'm going to disagree. I think it just needs a television, a Doctor Who especially. I'm going to talk about Doctor Who. I think it just needs somebody that understands the basic premise of Doctor Who, which is a Time Lord from the planet Gallifrey who's a male, traveling through time and space, battling monsters. Get on with it.
But I think the two people in charge bouncing ideas off, that would be a producer and a script editor, not a narcissistic maniac and nobody else. People just blowing smoke up his backside. That's all it is. That's all we've got.
Yeah. And that's what we used to have. And look how brilliant it was for 26 years. Look how it worked. Moffat did stay forever. Yes, that's true. It was partly due to Chibnall not agreeing to take over till Broadchurch was done. And again, it was being handed to their friend, though, wasn't it? When actually, what they should have done is either said, right, we'll take a couple of years break, as they were inclined to do in the Moffat years, or give it to another. There were proper professionals out there that I bet they didn't even meet with or chat to.
It's a real shame, because that means it would have been finished by now if he'd taken it sooner.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, they were so desperate at one point to get it to its 50th as well, weren't they?
Yeah.
And what's the betting, everybody, that it doesn't get to its 60th? What's the betting?
70th.
70th. Sorry, the 70th.
Let's not go back to the 60th. GT.
I wish it hadn't have got to its 60th, to be quite honest.
Isn't that bizarre that the 60th has just passed me by again?
Yeah. It was so memorable, wasn't it? Yeah.
It's only last year, and the whole thing got forgotten from my memory. It's just gone.
Yeah.
Georgie boy, hello. It's nice to see you. I don't mind showrunners being long-time fans. It's when they feel they own the Doctor. They are just custodians and nothing more. Not anymore, because now they do own it. There's no custodians anymore, because I guarantee if this show by some miracle survives, Georgie boy, there's going to be one particular person that decides who's taking over from him and how he's going to do the job.
Yeah. And if he's able to stay and guide the new person in, it'll just be much the same as it's been if it continues at all.
Yeah, exactly. What else we got here? Thank you, everybody, for joining us with all your comments. Russ is saying, I feel all nostalgic for Chibnall and Whittaker with this rubbish we have now. Oh, bless you. They lost Capaldi, who could have been the greatest Doctor ever, said Atherstone 55. Well, it was their decision to lose him. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, really.
That man would have still been today had he been given the choice.
Yep.
Let's say that. What else we got here? Sean is saying to you, Ian, you're on fire tonight. Well, put him out.
Thank you, Sean.
No way, says Mrs. Lisa Pertwee's gal's been with us through the evening. I love Peter and his guitar. He was amazing. And she still loves him. Yeah, it was fantastic. He just got some real bad scripts, which was down to Stephen Moffat. I think some of the stories he got were just ridiculous.
Yeah, the Eaters of Light as well. That's not very good.
Yeah.
Forest of the Night. And they all rhymed with absolutely.
Yeah. The 60th anniversary of Doctor Who did not honour the legacy of show. And that's Marjorie and Julianne saying, how could you forget the 60th not specials? Well, I did, didn't I? That says an awful lot, doesn't it? I just went completely out of my head. I know I'm tired today, but my goodness, completely forgotten. That's how much it means to me now, everybody.
I hope we don't make the 70th. That's another 9 seasons to go. God,
it's not. There's no way this show's going to make it the 70th.
Not going to happen.
There's no way. Can you imagine how many people will not be watching it if it carries on for another 9 years?
Yeah.
You know, there's no way it's getting there. How ridiculous would it be? How many more doctors are they going to bring in? Can you imagine the special episode, the 300 doctors? Please.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
The 300 more doctors, because we've already had about 87,403.
I know we've all lost it. Haven't we? We've all lost it. This is too much sci-fi. Let's get some soap opera in the show. Sigh, says Georgie Boy. That's exactly what he wanted to do from 2004 onwards, and that's exactly what he did. And now look at the mess the show's in. That's what I would say there. The only memorable moment in the 60th was Will's reunion with the Doctor. Oh, bless him. Thank you, Paul Seeley. God love him. Bernard Cribbins, much missed. You're absolutely right with that one as well. Please axe it for 15 years. It's killed the lore and origin of Doctor Who, said Lex Kane. It doesn't have to be Lex here. I think it's just going to go. And that's it. That's it, everybody. You know, but that's my take on it. But there you go. I do get harangued on that when I say that on social media now. I'll just say it once and then they all go, and I just go, oh, please, I'll go have a cup of tea. Listen, thank you for watching us here on Headlines tonight, everybody. It's been fantastic to see you all. That was the latest story we've got there with Moffat at the TIFF, the Toronto International Film Festival. Most of it, I would actually think he knows what he's talking about. He's a television professional here. He knows what he's talking about. I just wish that certain other people would listen to him. I don't agree with everything he says, don't get me right, but on this one, I think actually there's a lot of common sense there, Mr. Moffat, and I like what he was saying there. I like the fact he was also putting his point across, apparently, according to the piece, in a humour way, maybe because he understands the audience listening to him could have turned on him talking about being vilified. Yeah, because you never know. You know what these people are like. They go, oh, boo, you know, maybe. But there were some points in there that maybe some of these people need to listen to in the industry. And wasn't it Stephen Moffat that came back saying that Doctor Who should be for everybody, no matter what politics you have? Yeah, as well, yeah. Echoing Terence Dicks there, I feel, when he said that. Well, listen, thanks everybody for joining us. Listen, if you are around this week, a few weeks ago here on the show, we talked about the then latest issue of Doctor Who magazine. And a particular piece in Doctor Who magazine, and I'll paraphrase here now, where the writer put in saying, that basically criticizing, saying that the annuals from the 60s and 70s were naff. Well, we're going to go out, aren't we, guys, this week to prove Doctor Who magazine wrong. Come and join us on Wednesday, the 18th of September, live at 8:00 p.m. here in the UK for the annual ball. As myself and the Whotastic panel come along to talk about our memories, our recollections, and why the annuals of the 60s, 70s, and I'm including the 80s as well, are far superior to the utter nonsense that the BBC and Penguin books are peddling now for £8.99 or more every year now. So come and join us. It's up on the channel right now. Lots of nostalgia, lots of we've got lots of graphics coming for you. I'm still working on them. There is so much to talk about, isn't there, guys? When you look at those wonderful, proper British annuals, we're going to be explaining what annuals are, how important they were in a pre-internet age for all of us, the stories and why those stories were important, why the annuals, the features of the annuals. We're going to be talking about it all. We want you to come and join us with your memories of what you got for Christmas and your annuals, your Doctor Who annuals. And we're also going to be comparing and contrasting to the modern stuff. Oh, yes, we are. And yes, the artwork is going to be included. To them, I say. Don't care. Sorry, Paul, but we're getting on it. Not this Paul, another Paul, who might be watching. So, yeah, we've got that. So come and join us this Wednesday for that. Stephen Braddock is saying, I can't wait. Lee Smith is saying, I collect vintage annuals. Fabulous. The Beano, the Dandy, the Beezer, Blake 7, Rainbow. I've got loads over there. Well, of course, I have to have Rainbow. Would be great to see some of the graphics. I've not seen these annuals before, said Mike Disney.
Oh, you're missing a treat there,
show,
Mike.
Yeah.
Guys, this is why this show is important, because the Doctor Who annuals for us are so important. And now again, as we're going to be dealing with, it's just churn. No quality. Churn. Oh, the Macronon is saying Tiff was just downtown from me. Was it? Did you see Moffat in the chippy? Did you? He was probably getting something fried. It's from Paisley.
Deep fried Mars bar, probably. That was it.
Yeah. This was a wonderful stream. Thank you, Dividing Dragon. Thank you, Dalekai, as well. And Legion of James. Yes, the annual ball. Brilliant. Great show again tonight. Good night, everybody. Oh, thank you very much, everybody. It does mean a lot that you're all here with us. And we've got, okay, sounds good. I love the old books as YW2324. Please join us for that. It's our autumn special just for you here on the channel. It will be interesting, isn't it? Because we are comparing and contrasting, aren't we, guys? That's what we're doing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So until you come back for the annual ball, Wednesday, 8 p.m. Why Doctor Who magazine is wrong. Let them know. We've got things to say. Until then, from Paul and from Third Doctor Ian and myself, have a great week. We will see you soon. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, do everything you need to do for the channel. Thank you for supporting. We will be back very soon. Night, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Keep track of times and places throughout 2025 with this fantastic calendar featuring the art of Daryl Joyce. Acclaimed fan favourite artist Daryl Joyce presents his first ever calendar showcasing 12 of his own favourite moments from 26 years of time and space travel. Own these 12 stunning full-colour interpretations with the illustration on one page and a separate full page with ample space for all your dates and notes, and spend 2025 with Daryl's memorable time-travelling moments. Part 5. Pre-order your copy now and spend 2025 with Daryl's favourite and most memorable time-travelling moments.